What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, and a little bit of an evening edition, if you will. We got 6 incredible topics we're going to be getting into, breaking down the penultimate episode of Superman and Lois for you guys, as this is, in fact, the final season of the show. We're going to get into some James Gunn news as he talks about the upcoming Superman trailer. Voltron casting has been officially announced, and even a little bit of a tease in regards to the final episodes of Cobra-Kai. That and so much more, guys. Sit back, relax, enjoy your evening with us, and we'll see you on the other side. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of A-Plus Hero Report. It is I, your host, Adam Perez, back once again, as always, with our good old co-host, Stuart Branscombe. What's going on, buddy? It's good to see you, man. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know you weren't quite sure if you're going to be able to make it this evening, but I'm really glad you're able to come through, man. How's everything on your side today?
Everything is great. I just had an awesome Thanksgiving weekend, and I feel like I've gained 20 pounds.
You and me both, man. I probably have like one more day worth of that's not true. I probably have one more good day of leftovers. If leftovers are even still good Sunday. I think today might be the cutoff for some people, but I think I can make it work. We still got like a whole chicken that we've like barely gotten into yet. We made a lot of food, man, but I got some macaroni left and some chicken left. I think I might tackle that after we get off with this episode for sure, man. But I'm glad you had a good Thanksgiving.
That sounds like the perfect leftover dinner. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you had a good one too.
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. We went over to my girlfriend's mom's house. We actually did a lot of the cooking. I didn't realize that we were really like outside of we didn't host it, but clearly we're the ones that wind up bringing a lot of the food. I made the macaroni. Girlfriend worked overtime in making the broccoli casserole. She did some chicken, and she did like was it scallop potatoes or something like that. So we wind up bringing like 4 dishes, and then I think her sister made like a pecan pie or pecan pie, however you want to pronounce it, and she made me some sweet potato pie too, which I thought was pretty awesome. But yeah, we had a really great time, honestly, on Thanksgiving, man.
Yeah, that sounds like the perfect kind of Thanksgiving dinner.
Did you see any movies this weekend? Did you end up working this weekend, or what's going on over there?
No, I actually got the weekend off. I was going to so basically I was going to be going up to Placerville to visit my brother, but then they ended up having some plumbing issues up there. So instead they came down to Marin. So pretty much it's just been me and my family just like hanging out at our parents' place. And yeah, it was fun. It was like the thing I love about my siblings is that every time I see them, it's like we have such a great time that by like the time like the weekend's like over, I'm like, it's like I loved seeing them, but then I need some time to recuperate because then I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, just because we're
it's family, man. It's family.
Exactly.
I totally get it, bro. I totally get it.
You know what? Best way to describe it, there was that Zac Efron movie. I never saw it, but I always remember that scene in the trailer where it's like him and his brother and the two of them going, "We don't rile each other up. We never rile each other up. What are you talking about?" I'm like, that's us.
I love it, man. I love it. Did you say you had already seen Wicked?
Oh, no.
Or you had just seen parts of it?
I'd seen parts of it. Yeah, I hadn't watched it all the way through.
I still haven't seen Gladiator 2. I think that might be the next film that I check out just because it may be out of theaters here in a couple of weeks. I do want to check out Moana 2, but I did get the opportunity to see Wicked this past week before the Thanksgiving holiday. I did go ahead and put a review up on the channel. I really enjoyed it. I'm really upset that I never got the opportunity to see the Broadway musical. For those of you who don't know, the movie, clearly, it is a two-parter. There is a to be continued at the end. So this was technically just part 1, but I'm just hoping, and I believe that they shot both movies at the same time, or at least I'm hoping that they did, because I really don't want to have to wait forever for part 2. But I think part 2 might drop next Thanksgiving, which I'm really hopeful for. But I really enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed it. Have you heard any good things about it?
Oh yeah, no, I've from the coworkers of mine that have seen it, they all seem to really love it.
Yeah, great casting choices, man. I had some great laughs, great themes, great performances. Music was top notch. Great choreography, beautiful, just cinematography. Looked visuals were incredible, along with great costume designs too, man. So I really felt like I was in Oz. I thought they did a remarkable job.
I heard that a lot of the practical effects, or that in general, they didn't use too much green screen. They wanted it to like be mostly like practical in terms of the sets. So most of the CG was kind of like used towards the the magical spells and all that, and of course the CG animals.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely tell they had some pretty big set pieces just from watching in some of the performances, especially the the wizarding school, if you will, that they attend. You can definitely tell they had some pretty cool set pieces there, also.
Mm.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. If you had the opportunity to check out Wicked this week or any other movies that you certainly might have seen, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. Before we get into our first segment, for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, we got 3 segments to the show. Honorable mentions, which are topics that we didn't quite necessarily make the cut, but felt you certainly still deserve to know about it. Then we're going to get into our main topics. And then towards the end of the show, we're going to get into some live viewer questions. If you want to submit your live viewer question, just go over to our YouTube channel, click on that community tab, and there is a live viewer question post. But in the meantime, let's give some shout outs to some people that are certainly here with us, watching us live. And if you are watching us live, hit that like button, man. It really does go a long way and helps out our algorithm a lot to just have our show reach more people. Blossom, what's up, Blossom? Always good to certainly see you. Enrique says, hey, Adam, just saw the official second trailer and TV spot for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Yeah, man, we posted it up on our Facebook page recently, and it's getting a lot of traction. I think it's reached about 18,000 people right now. I think we got over like 500 reactions to the channel. Mind you, our Facebook page is blowing up, Stuart. I don't know if you know this, but literally November 22nd, we were at 2.7 thousand followers. Right now, as of today, we're at 2.8. So
Wow.
we're really gaining some traction over on our Facebook page right now. So if you're not following us over there, please do at A Plus Opinions. You can certainly find us for sure. Enrique Perez also saw the official trailer for Henry Danger the movie. I did see that trailer, but I'm not. I know of the show, but I've never watched it before. Have you watched Henry Danger before, Stuart?
No, but I know that it's like part of the whole like I can't remember. Fans like call it the Nickelodeon sitcom universe because it's like basically starts with Drake and Josh to iCarly, and then
Oh
I
yeah.
know that Henry Danger is like part of that like cinematic universe, as the fans like to call it, or the
Uh,
sitcom universe.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for it, and I'm sure fans of that universe will probably be really happy with it. Confirmed third Paddington movie. Yeah, Paddington in Peru.
Ooh, yes.
I actually saw the trailer in front of Wicked. There was another trailer I got the opportunity to see. Oh, remember we were just talking about the How to Train Your Dragon last week,
Mhm.
and I finally got to see that on the big screen in front of the Wicked movie. I thought that was pretty cool. Ram Jam, hey Adam, hope you're doing well. Yeah, you know what? There's something going around this household, man. I'll talk about it here in a little bit, but we've been getting sick left and right. At first, I think we were just thinking it's our allergies. The girlfriend, I think, the girlfriend definitely has something. Our little boy certainly has something. I'm not going to say anything about myself because I don't want to jinx it, but I was feeling a little bit of a headache coming on this evening. I did take some medicine just now, so we'll see. We'll see what that turns into.
Do you think it might be COVID? Because
I don't know. I mean, well, I will say this, it may be, and I only say that because my boy's got his flu shot, so I'm not under the impression that it's the flu. It started off with just like runny and stuffy nose, like real lot of congestion. And now it's in his chest a little bit. He's been coughing a little bit more. Now the fever's coming on. So I don't, it might be like just a sinus infection due to allergies. I don't I haven't had like he has I don't at least I don't think him or my girlfriend have had like body chills or body aches or anything like that. He did talk about he was a little bit tired today, so that is a fatigue factor too. So I don't know. I think we do have like maybe 1 or 2 more free COVID tests, so maybe we'll try and see if it is anything or if it's just a sinus infection due to our allergies around this house.
Mhm.
Skeleton Crew streaming tomorrow. Yes, I know you say December 3rd on Tuesday, but they did move up Skeleton Crew to drop early. So Skeleton Crew will actually be dropping tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, December 2nd for you guys. So you don't have to wait until Tuesday. It will be dropping Monday evening. So look forward to that.
Sweet. Goonies in space.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And for those of you who do not know, we will be reviewing Star Wars Skeleton Crew for you guys here on our channel. We have our Jedi Council that's certainly coming back for you guys. Myself, Stuart, Will Polk from Cena Nerd, along with Crystal Kyber. She's going to be joining. She may not join us for our first episode, but she certainly will after that. But live every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central Time, you can get our thoughts on Star Wars Skeleton Crew. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. Let's see here. What else we got in the house? Blossom says, how's your son feeling? I just took his temperature before I got in here, 99.7. He was 99.9 maybe an hour or so ago. We did give him some medicine. We've been going between like Tylenol, like children's Tylenol, and then children's ibuprofen. The ibuprofen usually works a little bit longer, so we may try and give them that a little bit closer to bedtime. But I feel like today is like most miserable, to be honest with you. I felt really bad for kiddo. He's yeah, man, this he fell asleep in my arms on the couch today, which is like a rarity, so I know he's not feeling good. His little cheeks are all flush and red and stuff, so just a little bit concerned for kiddo, but I think he'll push through. We're gonna do this home remedy tonight of putting potatoes in his socks. Have you ever heard of that, Stuart, by any chance?
I have not. No.
It's like I don't know if it's like an old wives' tale or something like that. My grandmother used to do it to me, and we've done it for Noah about twice. But anytime he's had like a fever and he's felt really bad, overnight we've slipped potatoes, like sliced potatoes into the heel, like right in between the cusp of his feet. And just put some socks on, and for some reason, when you wake up in the morning, they're like black, they're like brown, almost like they suck the sickness out of you, and it usually helps like break his fever for the day. So we're gonna try it again tonight and see if it helps.
Okay, that's that's so interesting. I got to try that.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling good.
I have no idea how it works. Like I've heard physicians and stuff say like there's no like they can't explain it. They don't think there's any medical treatment like that potatoes give in that sense. So I think they're just as surprised as I tend to be every morning when he wakes up and he feels so much better the next day. Like, what is happening here?
See, the funny thing is that whether or not there's actual like medical science behind it, one thing that no one can explain is that sometimes placebo effects work. So whether it's a placebo effect or not, it may work regardless. Because
but
the brain is just powerful, you know.
Like, that's true, but he has no idea. You know, like he has no idea that the potatoes is helping him. You know what I'm saying? He just wakes up feeling better. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Cobra-Kai, what's up, Cobra-Kai? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you coming through for us tonight. Sarab is in the house. What's up, Sarab? Thank you so much, man. Marcelino, heads up. I may have asked 4 questions today. One of them is long, but there's a reason. But because it helps answer something you had last week. Okay, no problem. Cool. Also forgot to mention November 20th was Trans Remembrance Day, the day we remember the transgender individuals who sadly lost this year. Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, Marceline. I didn't even know that there was a day, to be quite frank with you. So thank you so much for enlightening us there. All right, Stuart, with that out of the way, man, let's get into our first segment of the day. We're gonna get into our honorable mentions. Oh, sorry, you brought. Sorry. I'm gonna let you get it. Yeah, that's your job. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself there. We got some honorable mentions for you guys today. Stuart, do you have anything that you want to kick us off with, or what?
I couldn't find anything this week.
Okay. We did get for you Super Sentai fans out there. We do have something awesome to share with you. We got our first leaked poster of the upcoming new Sentai show titled Number One Sentai Goes Yuger. Gozugger. Uger. Goes User. I'm assuming that that's how they're pronouncing it. This is the first image of the 49th Super Sentai team. They've got 5 members. You've got Red Wolf in the middle. Such a badass name, man. Black Unicorn, which I believe is the female. There's also a blue lion in here. I'm not quite sure if that's male or female. I'm under the impression that it's a team of 4 dudes and 1 girl, but maybe I'm wrong. And then you've got Yellow T-Rex along with Green Eagle. I love the Green Eagle design, man. That's something about the gold and the green that just really pops. It says behind the team is a gold armed figure, perhaps the first mecha for the season. But yeah, I don't think there's a lot of details out there, with the exception of like if you've been maybe keeping your ears close to rumors and speculation that certainly might be going on. But if you guys have any other details about number 1 Sentai Goes User, please go ahead and let me know. But first impressions, Stuart, let me know your thoughts, man.
Those are some pretty awesome costume designs. Something about the pattern kind of reminds me of Ninja Storm. I think maybe it's maybe it's the circle in the chest. I'm not sure, but yeah, no
Oh, I can
complaints
see
here
that.
at all.
Yeah, I love the suits, to be quite frank with you. I'm a really big fan. Ram Jim says seems like a mesh between Go Ranger and Zui. I wonder if we could talk about that. But yeah, I love them. I love the. I am really curious. The helmets are pretty badass. I love the color schemes. I am curious as to the material along the sides of them, what they're going to certainly look like. I will say the Reiwa era of Super Sentai has really impressed me with a lot of their costume designs. I know Boom Boomger for some people kind of maybe fell a little bit flat with the racetrack stuff. Their super mode looks pretty cool with the actual like race jackets and stuff. But I think the Reiwa era has really taken a lot of cool swings in regards to just costume designs, whether they're being influenced from like Kamen Rider or from like other tokusatsu elements that are out there. I'm really loving what I'm seeing so far. So we'll see how the series itself goes. But that's our very first look at number 1 Sentai uh, go goes Goi. Wait, hold on. What is that? Hold on. Let me see if I can pronounce that again. Goes User. Goes User. Number 1 Sentai Goes User. So yeah, check that out. I still got so much Sentai to catch up on, man. I haven't even I haven't watched King Ozier. I haven't finished Boom Boomger. Man, I got so much to catch up to.
I mean, you're further than I, because I think it was Zenkaiger was the last season that I actually watched when it was new, and even then I didn't finish it. I think I got to the part where they did like a crossover with Kamen Rider Saber, and I think that's where I stopped watching it. But yeah, and then I really wanted to see that one where they're all knights. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, King Ozier.
That one was King Ozier. Yeah, that one looked really cool.
Yeah, they look pretty cool. Blossom says, How would it be if I call Gojuger as Power Ranger Super Beast? Yeah, they do have some interesting, let's like mythical. I don't want to say mythological beasts, because they do have a T-Rex in there. But yeah, very beast-like, from the wolf to the lion to the T-Rex to the unicorn. I was waiting for the griffin to pop up in here somewhere, but it works.
Just don't call it, Power Rangers Beast for the first season and then Power Rangers Super Beast for the second season.
So Ross says this might be the first time when Wolf is the lead, and a lot of Red Rangers, typically animals, are acting as a support. I do love the concept of a Red Wolf, honestly. And Ramjan says, yeah, go Ranger and Zoo Ranger. I got you. Cool. Thank you so much for clarifying. Marcelino says they look like something from a fan-made film, but more high quality, and they definitely prioritize a lot of black. Yeah, the black, that black unicorn. I think there's hints of pink in there too, which I think is a really cool look. What else we got for you guys? Percy Jackson 2 is in the news this week, Stuart. Mainly because they got to recast Zeus. Now that we had the unfortunate passing of Lance Reddick. Earlier this year, I believe, is when he passed. They had to go ahead and recast him in the Zeus character for season 2. And they wind up, you guys are probably very familiar and have seen this gentleman's face before. Percy Jackson cast Courtney B. Vance. Courtney B. Vance will be the new Zeus in the upcoming season of Percy Jackson. Have you had the opportunity to check out the first season, Stuart, at all?
I did. I absolutely loved season one. And keep in mind, I haven't read the books, but I watched the movie right after finishing season one, and I can see why fans were upset about it, having not no context of the book. When I watched the first movie, I was just like, man, this is such like awesome elements are here. Like there are so many cool like bullet points here that would work for any kind of like movie, and just kind of seeing what they came up with. It's like, yeah, I can see why the author was really upset with it. Whereas I look at the show and it's like, this is a show that knows what it has to work with and it has fun with it. It's like it's not as ashamed of, like the movie almost felt like it was ashamed of itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean there for sure. Derpy, what's up, Derpy? Good to see you in here. He says one day it'll come to Fortnite. I'm assuming maybe he's talking about the Super Sentai, maybe,
Oh, Super Sentai coming to Fortnite. That'd be cool. Or
or
same
some,
with
or
Percy Jackson. You play Percy
yeah,
Jackson in Fortnite.
yeah, either one, I'm completely cool with. Appreciate you coming through, Derpy. Thank you so much. Stuart, have you heard of this show by any chance called Secret Level? Have you talked about that on the show by any chance?
Oh, I don't think we have, but yes, I do know about it. It's supposed to be an anthology. Each episode is based in a different video game.
Yeah, according to IGN, it says from the creators of Love, Death, and Robots come a new anthology series with episodes focusing on animated adaptations with video game partnerships like Warhammer, Unreal Tournament, New World, Dungeons and Dragons, The Outer Worlds, Pac-Man. There's even Mega Man in here, Crossfire, Concord, just a ton of things. The only reason why I noticed it this week, they dropped a brand new poster because of the fact that they are actually going to be having a Mega Man episode, which I thought was absolutely incredible. And I saw the teaser itself, and I got to share it with you, Stuart, since like you said, I don't know if you've seen or heard too much about it, but it's supposed to be dropping like December 13th or December 20th, something crazy soon. But this is the Mega Man. This is the teaser for the Mega Man episode of Secret Level. Let's check this out.
Ooh. Doesn't matter what I made you for. This is what you were meant for. Rock!
So December 10th.
Okay, I hope I heard correctly. I think he called him Rock, which I love because originally, like his name before coming to America was Rockman, not
Oh,
Rock as in the mineral,
uh-huh,
but Rock as in
uh-huh.
like rock and roll.
Nice. But that's going to be dropping December 10th on Prime Video. I haven't been keeping up very much with video games, so maybe like the video game world and those that play like know about this, but I felt like this is like one of the best kept secrets where they should be pushing and marketing this more because it looks pretty dope. I might give it a shot. I would assume Prime Video would drop all the episodes all at once come December 10th on Prime Video, but we'll see. So if you guys are big video game heads, get a shot to get a chance to check out some of those episodes.
I love video games and I love Death and Robot. So when you combine the two, I think you got a good show on your hands. So
Yeah, you probably
we'll
have a good
find
show.
out.
Yeah, you probably got something special there, man. So we'll see how it goes. But all right, man, that will do it for our honorable mentions. Oh, Sarav says reminds me of this show called Eon Kid, although the story was a little bit different. I will one. What's up, I will? Good to see you in here, man. He says Mega Man is back. For me,
Never
honestly,
leave.
like I do want a Mega Man show. Like I would like some level of Mega Man in my life, whether that be animated, just regular 2D stuff, 3D stuff, CGI stuff, live action. Like I want more Mega Man, like as a television series or a movie or whatever the case may be. So maybe if this Mega Man episode does really well, maybe they're like, hey, maybe we got an opportunity here. You know what I mean?
I actually wonder if that might be like the secret motive behind the show, is that they're waiting to see which episodes like get the highest ratings or the best reviews. So then, they might make a whole series based on those episodes.
And am I missing something? But like when it comes to Amazon, they've been picking up a lot of video game IP, right? God of War, Tomb Raider. I'm sure there's probably a couple other ones that I'm missing off the top of my head. But
Yeah,
and
Fallout, Mass Effect. This
yeah,
goes
yeah.
on.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, yeah, maybe that's an opportunity for Prime to be like, what else? What other IPs can we utilize? So you might be right, Stuart.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that will do it for our honorable mentions. I keep saying Marcelino says we had a Mega Man cartoon about 5 years ago on Cartoon Network. I feel like I recall something like that. Did it not stay around very long, Stuart? Do you recall that?
There's like always a bunch of Mega Man cartoons. I imagine they're not very good, only because like no one talks about them. I could be wrong though.
I mean, yeah, you might be right. They had a Thundercats series on Cartoon Network, and I thought it was incredible, and that didn't last very long either, unfortunately.
Which that to me was weird because like Thundercat sells toys, right? And that's usually Cartoon Network's motivation is toy sales.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Now that will do it for our honorable mentions. Stuart, are you ready to go ahead and get into our main topics today, man?
I am always ready for main topics.
Awesome, man. Let's go ahead and dive into this. We got a stacked show for you guys today. I'm really excited to go ahead and tackle these topics with you guys today. 6 on the docket. As you guys can see from the very top, we got a final season here of Superman and Lois. We had the penultimate episode here this week. I have not had the opportunity to check it out yet, Stuart, but Stuart has checked it out, and he's going to give you his thoughts and reviews on this as we say farewell to this show. We got one more week certainly left to go. We got some Voltron news. Somehow Mighty Mouse has made it into our topics this week. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to dive a little bit into the upcoming DCUs. We got some Lanterns and Superman update for you guys today. But first up will in fact be Superman and Lois, a series that, man, has become a beloved series by so many. A lot of people are going to be really heartbroken to have to say farewell to this show, unfortunately. People are putting Tyler up there as their generation's Superman, whether that be, whoever you love, Christopher Reeves, Brandon Routh, Henry Cavill, Tyler's, whatever the case may be. I always will say this, Stuart, there's always room for more. But I do love when they get incredible actors to certainly go ahead and embellish these amazing, incredible actors that go ahead and really make these characters certainly their own and separate themselves from everybody else. And I think Tyler has done that remarkably well. But I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor here to go ahead and talk a little bit about Superman and Lois's penultimate episode, man. What did you think about this?
As a penultimate episode, this did everything it needed to really up the stakes, show us like what it is that our heroes are in for, and also just really flesh out like the like Lex Luthor's true nature, which we have already seen bits and pieces of it. But like, when you have a character like Amanda McCoy who is like super loyal to him for reasons that just make no sense to me other than money, it's really cool for this to finally be the episode where she fully can no longer have any excuses of being blinded by his the bigger picture, I guess, as he tries to put it for her. So I thought this was an awesome penultimate episode, but I think what made it great were the episodes leading up to it. And since I haven't had a chance to review anything leading up to it, I just want to give like kind of my quick thoughts on the season really quick before I go into my overall reviews on the penultimate episode. So this season has been really good, especially because with Luthor himself, starting with this character, very different from what we are used to in the comic books, not your typical super genius. Instead, it's funny, the way I describe him, you would think he would make for a terrible villain, especially against someone like Superman. But this version of Lex Luthor is a man baby. And that's like the best way to describe it. He's a dude that cannot get over people not kissing his feet. And if you don't kiss his feet, he will have the biggest tantrum. And when which, normally any other person out there in the world is like, whatever, why would I have any reason to be scared of someone like that? But this is a dude with $1 billion and a guy who also knows how to cover his tracks. So having that kind of a villain somehow works really well. I absolutely love his whole arc, and every time you think, okay, there might be something that, Lois or Superman can use to get through to him. Like they try to appeal him as a father. And then the fact that when he actually, gets reunited with his daughter, something that wouldn't have happened without Lois's help, the fact that he still isn't able to put aside his desire for revenge on Lois, to be in his daughter's life again, because she gives him that ultimatum saying, oh yeah, you know what, if you want me in your life, that's fine, but you have to put this hatred of Lois aside. And he wasn't willing to do that. So I absolutely love the way they just kind of he constantly convinces himself, the way he says it, you would almost believe it if you just heard his side of the story. But when you see the whole thing, it's he's just, again, a man baby, and it's just so funny how he convinces himself that he's the victim. I truly believe him when he tells himself that he's the victim, because I truly believe that he believes it, is what I meant to say. And I think the actor Michael Cudlitz sells it so well. I've loved this guy since The Walking Dead. He was also great in Band of Brothers, but yeah, I think this might be my favorite role that I've seen him in. Again, not how I would have written Lex Luthor, but that's okay. This may not be the most comic book accurate version of the character, but it works for the type of story that they are telling within Superman and Lois. So I am all for this version of Lex Luthor. And then other things, I love seeing Jonathan get powers, and I love how in this episode, something we could have seen more of, but I get it with time running out and then having only one more season to really utilize Jonathan's powers. I do wish we could have seen him make more mistakes, kind of in the same line as Jordan that we've been seeing him make all season long. And it felt like we were going to get that this episode, because he's the one that really wants to take Luthor out, despite the fact that the family's against it. And of course, he ends up not making that mistake that I thought he was going to. And again, I think it just comes down to, this is the last season. They only had 10 episodes. But I do like that the reason he doesn't make a mistake is because he takes Jordan's advice. He's like, you get Jordan, who has finally actually learned from his previous mistakes of, hey, maybe if my parents say not to do something, there's probably a reason behind it. And so I like that Jonathan showing restraint was because he listened to Jordan. So I like that. So even though I would have liked to have seen him make a mistake or two, I like that there's, I can believe that this character wouldn't, because of everything that had been set up so far. And then also I do like seeing Jonathan and Jordan kind of casually being famous now, as you have some people from out of town going into Smallville. You get I will say this, the one thing that's unrealistic about the show is the paparazzi that appears in Smallville is way too polite. No way would they not be constantly bombarding them, but they're constantly giving them space kind of. And that's just yeah, I've seen news clips of paparazzi. If everyone knew that the son of Superman was living in Smallville, first of all, there would probably be way more tourists than what we see. And yeah, they would not be showing the restraint that we see in the show. But again, it's a joke nitpick. It's not an actual nitpick. And then, yeah, when it comes to just Superman's arc this season, the way that this episode builds up the stakes, so you have Lex Luthor with John Henry Iron's suit, and then on top of that suit is now fueled with kryptonite, so the closer that Superman gets to it, the weaker he gets. I mean, the suit alone was already toe-in-toe with Superman, but now it's even stronger because now Superman can't even go near it. And then on top of that, you have Doomsday back stronger than ever, and all this going on while Superman is at his weakest. And while Superman is at his weakest, his kids are still not up to his level, which means, if he's not around, they may not be, up for the, upcoming threats that we may see. So the way they just lay down the stakes, the way it's all put out there, I just think is incredible. And it gets me excited to see how it's all going to get resolved in the next episode. I think that's the one thing that concerns me, though, is the last episode going into it. The trailer for it looks awesome, but I'm also wondering, how do you do you end a series when you have this much going on in only 44 episodes? I do believe the showrunners are going to be able to show me, or they're going to be able to answer that exact questions, because so far they've proven that they know what they're doing in terms of writing. So now I'm excited to see how it all kind of plays out in the end. I can just tell that we're in for an epic season finale, and this was a great episode to build it up. Also, got to give a shout out to a return Bruno Mannheim. I did love seeing him come back again. Another great Walking Dead actor in Superman and Lois. I found that really funny. Bring in 2 actors from The Walking Dead and have them play supervillains. Although in Bruno Mannheim's case, not really much of a supervillain, more of just, crime boss with some good intentions. And I love that, like, despite the fact that Lois Lane is the one who put him in prison, that he does, he is genuinely like really kind towards Lois, and he only loses his temper with her when she's like, so I need your help with Lex Luthor. And he's like, well, you're the one who let him out in the first place. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I love, it's just, again, the way the characters mature and develop, like, over the course of the series has been, amazing. Some of the best, like, character development I've seen. Superman revealing his identity, not at the end of the episode, but like in episode 7. So we actually get to see kind of the outcome of that. And, the reason why most superheroes don't do that. I absolutely love, and don't get me wrong, nothing against Supergirl. But looking at the way they handled, Clark Kent coming out with his idea or, identity as Superman, I kind of wish they did that in Supergirl too. Rather than waiting for it to be the very last scene of the show, I almost wish we had like one more episode before she revealed herself. And I say that only just in retrospect of looking at Superman and Lois, how they did it. I'm like, I think this would have been kind of cool if we got this in Supergirl as well. But So yeah, pretty much all positive things to say. I love that when we get Doomsday back, he's stronger than before. Again, much like John Henry Iron's suit, now we have Doomsday back, stronger than before. And with that, we still have Superman at his weakest. So Superman literally has 2 enemies stronger than him. So I'm excited to see how this gets resolved in the last episode. But, at the end of the day, guys, these are just my A+ opinions. If you guys have opinions on this penultimate episode, definitely let us know in the live chat. I'm not sure if we have any live comments about it yet.
I will say, let me ask you a question. With Doomsday returning, is there a possibility Superman gets killed off in this again?
I hope not. We've already seen him get killed off. And they didn't even, they took their time bringing him back, because it took until episode 4 before we actually got to see him in the season. So I really hope they don't kill him off just to bring him back again. Or sorry, they don't bring him back just to kill him off again, because that would be punching down at that point.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, just kicking this poor man while he's down. Now it does make me want to go back and watch, or go and watch the season finale of Supergirl, just so that I can see the difference of how Clark Kent sort of reveals himself, based off of how Kara certainly did. So now that definitely does intrigue me. And I do like your point also of the idea of how this, because of the fact that it's a shortened season, how you don't get to see one of the sons kind of go through the same trials and tribulations that the other one certainly had to. I do think that there's something important to that. So I'm glad that you wound up bringing that up. I will one says Tyler Hoechlin was a superb Man of Steel. Let me tell you, man, he was at Dallas Fan Festival here in November, or was it maybe October sometime? We've got a couple of panels that we recorded from the event. I believe it was we have a Superman and Lois panel up there for you guys too. I think it was Tyler, Bitsy, and Michael. They talked a little bit about their time on set. So if you're interested in checking that out on our YouTube channel, check it out for sure. Marcelino says the fight between Superman and Lex was awesome, and it really separated itself from your typical Superman versus Lex fight. Is easily an S-tier Superman fight. And you definitely brought that up to me last week too, Stuart.
Yeah, that to me was the perfect, the show gets a huge budget cut. So Todd Helbing has the brilliant idea of, let's just turn the street lights red. So that way we have Superman and Lex Luthor fighting on equal ground. And, I love it, because the one thing this Lex Luthor has that other Lex Luthors don't is that this guy actually looks like intimidating. Like you would think this is not the kind of guy you want to get into a fight with. So, I love seeing him so cocky after he takes away Superman's powers. And he's like, you got nothing on me. And then Superman just kind kind of like having that look in his face of awesome, now I don't have to hold back, and then just leading to like just the most perfect brawl between the two of them, and then Superman beating him not from out muscling him, but because he's been in fights over and over and over. He knows how to take a punch and he knows how to get back up, unlike Lex Luthor.
I love it. I love it. Marceline says, I kind of wish Jonathan didn't get powers because that's what made him special, was that he didn't have powers and was trying to navigate who he is in all of it.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And I think we would have gotten more of that part of his development. And then the powers would have just been like kind of a shocking, like, oh man, but I already just figured out who I was and what I wanted to do. But now I have this new factor. I feel like that's originally what they were going with it. But of course, we didn't get to really fully get that part fleshed out with him when he was a fireman, or I guess volunteer fireman. So yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from that, but I do get the feeling that this was always part of the plan, just not this early.
Not this early. That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Marcelino does say, what did you think of their version of Jimmy Olsen? And one does jump in and say, easily the better Jimmy Olsen in recent years. But how do you feel about their Jimmy?
I love their Jimmy Olsen. And, I like the Jimmy Olsen that we had in Supergirl, but he never felt like Jimmy Olsen was the problem.
Yeah.
Jimmy is not supposed to be cool. Like, I'm just going to say that, man.
Call me James.
Yes, on, I forgot. Yeah, he went by James. That's right. But yeah, this felt more like, what you would expect from a typical comic book Jimmy Olsen. Yeah, it's and I love the story around what they did with him. I'm sad that we didn't get more with him, especially in present day, but I love the note that they ended on with him and Clark. I actually do that ending between the two of them was so sweet. Almost brought a tear in my eye.
I know I'm going to be kicking myself in the butt when I finally do catch up to Superman and Lois, wishing that I had watched this in real time with y'all. I really do. Marcia says, I still want to know why Doomsday is still working with Lex, because it was clearly shown that he wanted to go back home, but he keeps working with Lex, so his motivations are a little inconsistent. Any thoughts on that?
His brains are just scrambled. He doesn't know what to believe. I mean, I'll say this, the way Lex convinces Doomsday to be Doomsday in the first place at the end of season 3 had always been my biggest complaint. And I figured it was because they knew there was a chance season 3 would be the last. And so the showrunners just really wanted to put their own version of Doomsday and Lex Luthor out there, just so they could be like, yeah, we had our own stamp on these two characters before our show ended. And so the way Doomsday just randomly is just okay with Lex Luthor killing him over and over to make him stronger, that never made any sense to me to begin with. So Doomsday just letting Lex kill him again one last time didn't bother me. It was dumb, but I'm like, okay, they already established that this is a weird thing that Doomsday does for some reason. So I didn't mind it, but yeah, I do kind of see where you're coming from, is that it does make him seem inconsistent, because, at one point they try to tell us, oh, wait, but Bizarro Superman is still somewhere in there. But then they go back to him just being mindless, behemoth.
Let's see here. Also, which recurring side character do you think had the best send-off? Lana, Sarah, Steele, Natalie, Chrissy, or Kyle? Except Sam, because he's obviously he got the best send-off.
Damn, because that would have been my answer. I think Sam had the perfect send-off. That episode was great. And yeah, the way he I love, we already saw his character redeemed. So it was so smart for them to bring in flashbacks from before the events of the show to remind us, oh yeah, don't forget, this guy was kind of a dick when the show began. But man, as for the best send-off, well, I don't think we've had a true send-off for Lana yet. And Steele and Natalie are still kind of working with the DOD and working with Superman and Lois, so I wouldn't call it a send-off for them. So just because this is the only one I feel like they've actually put closure in, probably Chrissy and Kyle. I think those two have the perfect closure. They have a new house that they're going to be getting. They're basically starting their lives together. I think to me that feels like closure. But with Lana, it feels like she won't have that closure until Luthor is completely gone from Smallville. I guess Sarah also had a really good end to her storyline, so I thought that was good, especially with her studying abroad. I think it felt like her character was the most inconsistent with the show's writing for the past few seasons. So I guess if you're going with the explanation of her just really needing to find herself, having her study abroad makes the most sense for her character. So I think that probably Sarah would be a close second as to characters. But for the others, I don't think we've really gotten a send off for them yet. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, well, we got one more episode to find out to see how they're going to wrap this up. And if anything, that's probably what we're going to be doing for next week's episode. We will have the Stuart with his final episode review for you guys. So if you do want to get your thoughts on Superman and Lois, certainly go ahead and yeah, join us next week for sure. And if anything, we might end up clipping this segment out and just posting it on the YouTube page as its own individual video for you guys if you want to go ahead and check that out also. But yeah, thank you so much, Stu. I appreciate you giving us your thoughts on that episode, man. I wish I had watched it. It's been such a crazy week though, with Thanksgiving and the family being sick and stuff. I wasn't able to check it out, but I may jump in for just checking out the final episode just to kind of see like all I've missed and how the final episode certainly hits me, man. So I appreciate you sharing that, Stu.
I would say at the very least start with episode 7, just because again, I'm not over exaggerating when I say that his reveal when he reveals himself to the world, that may go down as like one of the most iconic moments in all of Superman mythos.
I do. How many episodes are in this season? 10?
10, yeah, 10 altogether.
Okay, maybe I'll do that then. Are they on Max right now?
Oh no, I've actually been watching season 4 on Amazon Prime. I bought the whole season.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. All right, well, yeah, I'm sure I'll find some way to catch up to it. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on the penultimate episode of the final season of Superman and Lois in the comment section box below or in our live chat. And with that out of the way, Stuart, I think we will move on to our next topic. We're going to stay in the realm of DC for you guys. We'll get back to Superman here in a little bit, but we've got ourselves a little series to look forward to when it comes to James Gunn's DCU, as we do have a Superman movie that's set to go ahead and drop in July. I think we also have a Peacemaker season 2, and I believe after that will in fact come our Lantern series that we've been hearing so much about, not only from writing announcements, but we had some huge casting news over the past several months, and they are getting ready to go into production this January, along with Supergirl. I believe they're going to be filming sort of parallel to each other as well, so a lot of DCU goodness certainly headed our way. And ever since we had Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre announced both as Hal Jordan and John Stewart, I've been trying to find as much new information about just what some of the people working behind the scenes have had to say in regards to this upcoming show. And believe it or not, one of the writers, they've got three incredible writers attached to this Lantern series. Damon Lindelof, who I think his most recent series he worked on was Watchmen, if I'm not mistaken. We also have Chris Mundy, fresh off of the Ozark series, and a big notable comic book writer himself in Tom King, who James Gunn has been very heavily influenced with a lot of the upcoming movies and series that we're going to be seeing. So Tom King himself was in the news this week, Stuart, talking a little bit about Lanterns, and I thought it would be pretty interesting for us to go ahead and dive in and just hear some of his brief thoughts in which he talks about this. This actually comes to us from the Business Insider. I found this title, this headline,
I was thinking that same exact thing when you sent it to me. I'm like, that is the cool, like, I know why that headline was there, because you know I went to like a comic panel with Tom King before, so he
nice.
kind of like was like mentioning his history with working with DC comic books. So when I saw that title, I laughed so hard.
It says a CIA counterterrorism officer's cover was being a comic book author. Now he's an award-winning writer for DC, working in Hollywood on HBO's Lanterns. He was really a CIA counterterrorism officer?
Yeah. So like during the panel, someone asked him about that, was like, hey, so what made you go from being a CIA officer to
So
suddenly writing
random.
comic books? And his response was, well, I've always been a comic book fan. And the weirdest thing for me is that time working with the CIA, because I honestly don't know why I was doing that. To me, this was my, like, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but basically his answer was he doesn't really know why he was working for the CIA when his whole passion was always comic books, which I thought was just hilarious.
Yeah, that's like that's just like the most random thing I've ever heard. Like I've read the title, I'm like, really? So I'm so much more fascinated with Tom King's background and history, but it also kind of like in a weird way really explains a lot of his writing style, the characters that he chooses to certainly write about, and the fact that he had this line of work. I'm like, okay, I can see why he would maybe want to write something along the lines of a John Stewart character here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just found it really pretty intriguing. I'm not going to read all of it because it is a pretty long article. If you guys want to go ahead and check it out for yourselves, I highly recommend that you do. But he does have a couple of things here. He does mention the idea that he's actually been working on the most recent Black Canary series, which I had no idea. His latest series, Black Canary, Best of the Best, is a story about a motherhood through the lens of an MMA fight between the title hero and the strongest fighter, Lady Shiva. So I didn't know that he would.
Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was currently working on a comic book series right now, but he does go ahead and talk about it a little bit. Let me see if I can. This damn. I don't know why this computer does this to me all the time. He says, I'm working with character. Oh, come on, bro. What is happening right now? This does this to me every week, Stuart. Let's see here.
It clearly just has its own like section of the article that it wants you to read.
Yeah, read this paragraph first. You know what? Since this is gonna be a pain in my ass today, I'm trying to get this. It says, here we go. It's this balancing act that has shaped his approach to writing for the upcoming Lantern series, which is expected to arrive in 2026 alongside co-creators Damon Lindelof and Chris Mundy. It follows Hal Jordan, played by Kyle Chandler, and John Stewart, played by Aaron Pierre, two members of the Intergalactic Green Lantern Corps, as they tackle a dark Earth-based mystery. King said that he felt responsibility to the comic characters that the fans have been reading for 60 years. I was friends with Neil Adams, the co-creator of John Stewart, and every time I was in the room, I felt Neil yelling at me, "Don't forget where you come from, kid." And although the series features cosmic characters, it aims to engage with the audience on a real world level. He said, Damon, Chris, and I came with a lot of love for the material. And we wanted to do what I've always done in comics, which is take these original creations and show why they're still relevant today and why they can speak to both the audience and issues of everything that we're dealing with. He added, it feels like a DC renaissance. We're at the beginning of creating an entirely brilliant world. First off, I don't know why when he says it feels like a DC renaissance, it kind of gives me kind of chills a little bit in the sense of, I think we've been really hoping and praying that eventually DC would sort of get itself in gear and be on par with something of what the MCU certainly might have created, and it does kind of feel like that in a sense. Like this is probably prime opportunity for DC to kind of make a name for themselves. Am I tripping to feel that way, Stuart, or you feel a little bit of that too?
Oh no, I feel that 100%. And I like that they, even though there's like all this pressure for them to succeed, seemingly from an outside perspective, it seems like they're taking the smart steps of like actually taking their time with each individual like movie slash show that they're about to bring us. And I know that may seem like something super obvious. Well, obviously they got to take their time, right, to make a movie or a TV show. But it's like you look at what Marvel had been doing when they entered Phase 4, and I think it was just because Marvel got maybe too comfortable where they were starting to release like more than they could possibly like manage to profit from. And I think that DC is taking this slower, making sure that everything like the script is good to go before like actually shooting and all that kind of stuff. The fact that they even acknowledge, some of the past mistakes of, more modern superhero movies, it kind of shows that they're really trying to learn from the past and actually give us something, unique. And I like how also it doesn't seem like they're trying to either copy or catch up to the MCU. They're just doing their own thing of telling individual stories that just happen to exist in a coherent universe. And I think that a Green Lantern show, especially with what they're going for here, is kind of a smart way to do it. I love what Tom King says. He's writing this show for the same reason he likes to write these characters in comic books, which is that he wants to show how these larger than life characters can still be relevant today. I am intrigued to see how he writes for a character like for the Green Lantern character specifically, because at least in my current knowledge, I don't think he's ever written a Green Lantern before. So but that doesn't mean obviously, he doesn't know the characters. I'm sure he does. Otherwise, there's no way, James Gunn would have just hired him, because he writes comics. So I am excited to see his overall like take within the Green Lantern like mythos.
Yeah, me too. And earlier in the article, he does say here, he says the most important thing about being a CIA officer is not the gunplay and all that stuff. The most part is empathy. He says, I was what they call a case officer, which means you're trying to get people to spy on other people. He says, I had to find what was in common with them, and I had to get inside their head and immediately understand what they wanted, how to make their lives better, what their motivations were. Similarly, writing is about inspiring empathy for characters. And then it says usually his work on DC involves deconstructing a beloved character and presenting them from an unconventional angle. And I that really intrigues me when he talks a little bit about how technically, I guess, how his approach would be to some of these characters. And when they say things like take the original creation and show that they're still relevant today, and why they speak to both the audiences and the issues of everything that we're dealing with. For some reason, Stuart, when I read that, I kind of get vibes of like what Damon Lindelof did with the Watchmen series a little bit. Really still continuing to tackle themes, but very much in a modern day society. And I kind of feel like maybe that might be something in parallel here to what we're going to be getting when it comes to Tom King's writing for Lanterns as well. I mean, the idea that you have these characters that are so well established, you want to sort of deconstruct them and show them from a different angle, and yet at the same time give us a story and put these characters in situations that are certainly still relevant today. When I think of him working alongside somebody like Damon Lindelof, I just think to myself, like, this feels like the perfect pairing. And then you put somebody like a Chris Mundy that's worked on Ozark and the types of grittiness and violence and some of the themes that kind of came out of that series as well. It does make this even more intriguing for me. And one, I didn't even know that he was that good of a friends with Neil Adams. So I think the fact that he had that opportunity to work on a character that Neil knows so incredibly well. And I love the idea where he says, he had Neil speaking to him in the back of the mind, like, don't forget where you came from, sort of thing. It just kind of gives me a belief that Tom King and Damon Lindelof are really going to treat these characters rightfully in the way that they're certainly presented, but giving us a much more grounded approach. And I feel like the groundedness that we continue to hear from this is, I don't want to say scares people off, but gives people a level of timidness going into it, in the sense of like, what am I really going to get? I was kind of hoping for a more intergalactic sort of outer space affair, which I totally understand for sure. But I do think that there is something important in the sense of being able to really break down these characters and kind of set them up for the long run. Because I do believe that characters like a Hal Jordan, characters like a John Stewart are very much going to have a significant role kind of going forward, where we probably will get the opportunity to see them in those particular situations that we would love to all see them in. But I do think that, especially when James Gunn has talked about the importance of this series really setting the tone in the sense of the overall story or arc or mystery that's going to be playing itself out for the rest of the DCU. I think really establishing the core of who these characters are, and placing them in a more modern day, grounded sort of world, I think will really work to the benefit of these characters. And so when I hear him talk about things like this, I think him and Damon Lindelof are a perfect pairing to bring something like this to life, honestly.
I definitely agree. And yeah, I see also, because you brought this up too, like a lot of people hoping, being a little bit worried with the show being a little more grounded than you would particularly expect from a Green Lantern show. But I'm kind of with this. Like, I don't mind this because this is our first look into our Green Lanterns. And it makes sense that, we're kind of easing audiences into this world, kind of in a similar way that Marvel did when it started, because we didn't start the Marvel universe with Guardians of the Galaxy. We started with a character like Iron Man, and we didn't tell the story of the Mandarin during Iron Man. We told the story that was just kind of a grounded, more just, like movie about, business corporations building weapons, sometimes selling them to the wrong people and that kind of stuff. It was a very grounded story, but it was still part of this like larger than life universe. And before you know it, you have Iron Man in space fighting alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy to stop Thanos. And I think that's the kind of thing we're going to get with this Green Lantern. Like, even if we don't see it in this first season, I think we're going to get that out of the Green Lanterns, whether it be in a future DC movie or whether it be if the show gets a second season. I don't expect this show to stay grounded, unless it's one of those situations where the studio gets the show ends up being a success and the studio takes away the wrong message from that success, and they think, oh, people like it because the Green Lanterns are grounded. I don't think that'll happen, but that's the only situation I can see happening where the Green Lantern stayed like that. But other than that, I do think that they're only starting it out this way to just kind of ease new audiences into this universe. Oh, you're muted.
And yeah, you definitely might be right in that regards. And there's another article we'll talk about here in a little bit where James Gunn clarifies for some people. He's like, just so you know, when people say the studio, that's me. He's like,
yes.
he's like, that's me and Peter. He's like, there's really nobody else that we have to kind of go to, which I find, it's just absolutely brilliant to kind of hear him say that type of stuff. So I do think that he has a clear direction for where he wants to take these characters, and there is a level of that I agree with you in the sense of, despite it being grounded, I definitely expect to see them use their powers. It may not be in a big, like, I mean, who knows what type of like action sequences we certainly might get in here. So I don't necessarily think grounded necessarily means like no CGI, no willpower usage on the show. I highly would agree with you in the sense that I do think maybe we'll get some costumes towards the end. Maybe we'll have a big battle towards the end. But I do think the focus is going to be establishing who these characters are, story, and then sprinkling in action certainly whenever you need it. And yeah, we're going to get Superman, right? We're already going to have Guy Gardner in there as Green Lantern, so we'll probably get some levels of Green Lantern ability as well. We know that Aaron Pierre is going to be pretty much like the main lantern of this universe. It certainly feels like. So I definitely do think we'll get plenty of opportunities to kind of see our characters in that. But as far as establishing like the beginnings, I'm intrigued, and even I will once is very intrigued about the true detective style Green Lantern. If anything, I'm really curious to see what this dark mystery is that they're certainly referring to in here. Any thoughts though on what it could be?
I think, and I know James Gunn has somewhat debunked this, but I still think they're building up to a New Frontier movie. Justice League New Frontier, that is. So I think that the grounded part that the Green Lanterns would have to investigate would be kind of the cult of the I forgot what they call it, like the infinite, the absolute, or something like that. But basically, the powerful being the core. Was it? Okay, someone in the comments, if you know what it was, what the main villain from Justice League New Frontier was called, let me know in the comments. But yeah, like I think that they're going to be investigating the cult aspect of it. If I had to guess, that'd be the kind of the cool way that you could still show that there's going to be a larger than life storyline that this is going to be building up to, but you can tell it in a more grounded way because, you know, when it comes to the cult, it's usually just like people, some who have like a direct connection, some that do not. So I think that that'd be kind of a cool way for them to investigate it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this turns out, man. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad Tom King spoke a little bit about lanterns. And yeah, anytime we get some really cool insight in regards to the upcoming show, we'll definitely keep you guys posted because I know a lot of people are really fascinated about this. We've been waiting for a lanterns anything since Ryan Reynolds' Lanterns film, and so the fact that we're getting something, I think a lot of people are intrigued. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, y'all. And with that out of the way, we will transition over from lanterns. We'll stick in the DCU, but we're going to get into some James Gunn talk, man. He's been doing some clearing up of rumors out there. We've got Creature Commandos that's set to also drop this week, if I'm not mistaken, December 5th. We got two big shows, Stuart. Skeleton Crew at the beginning of this week, and then I think December 5th is a Thursday. So then we're also going to be getting Creature Commandos as well. We will be doing a review for Creature Commandos here on our channel as well. So certainly stay tuned to that. James Gunn has been out in the news, man. He's been certainly making the rounds, giving us some insight in regards to his upcoming series, Creature Commandos, and talking a little bit more about the Superman stuff. Let's, you know what? Let's clear up the Superman stuff first, though, Stuart. Okay, because there's talks about a trailer that's supposed to be coming out, if you will. I want to go ahead and clarify some of those things here before we get into him talking about the greater DCU. Let's see here. Let me bring this up here. First one, both of these articles actually come to us from comicbookmovie.com. This says Superman director James Gunn talks pretty family-friendly reboot as more trailer rumors swoop online. Having spent the better part of a decade working alongside Marvel Studios, yada, yada, yada. However, the DCU won't be a carbon copy of the competition. Instead, Gunn has taken a very different approach to telling these stories and dropping some hints about how Superman's tone differs from other movies and TV shows. Let's see here. Where'd it go? He says, everything is going to be totally different, he started. One of the things I love about DC Comics is that they've always been able to tell different stories in different ways. They've told stories that were more family oriented, stories that were more adult oriented, dark stories, light stories. I think for us, we just want to tell a bunch of different stories. A lot of different stories are going to be in the DCU. We have something that's relatively serious like Superman, and then something that's relatively comedic like Peacemaker, all in the same universe. Gunn continued, something very adult like Peacemaker and something pretty family friendly like Superman. He says, I think that to be able to tell different kinds of stories is kind of what makes things fun. One of the things I've gotten a little sick of is all these stories being relatively the same. I'm trying to step outside of that. We at DC are trying to step outside of that, is what he concluded.
So something I thought was funny is they didn't highlight it like in the way they quoted it here, but when James Gunn talked about Superman being like family friendly, he's like, and you'll have something family friendly like Superman, and he immediately kind of like corrects himself. Pretty family friendly. So I think like what he meant by that was that, yeah, it'll probably, you know, I do think it'll be like, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy level of family friendly, where it will be mostly a movie for the family, but there's probably going to be like a swear word here and there and a couple innuendos. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in that sentence, he says we have something that's relatively serious like Superman. So the concept of something relatively serious like Superman, but also combining that with the concept of it also being something pretty family friendly. I think to me, goes to show one of the things that I think James Gunn is just really great at, and that's balance. You know, I know a lot of people tend to think that, oh, he's just, you know, just comedy here, there sort of thing. But if you watch some of the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, I mean, it does tackle relatively serious themes. You know, it also can be comedic, but it can also be very heartfelt and emotional. And I would just even point you to, and it is around that Christmas time, but check out the holiday special for Guardians of the Galaxy if you haven't had the opportunity to do so. When I watched it, it literally like made me tear up. Like the fact that he has such a great understanding of not only the characters, but an ability to bring such a really great balance to the movies that he makes. I can see why he would put something relatively serious and pretty family friendly like Superman all in the same sentence. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in regards to how he, and if anything too, Stuart, I will say this kind of reminds me of like early MCU in the sense of each movie felt relatively different in and of itself. But it does feel like as we've gotten into some of the newest phases, and even especially like I feel like the television shows have maybe done a better job of giving us like that different feel, if you will, but the movies are starting to feel a little bit similar in the sense. And I feel like what he's trying to maybe recapture is what the MCU was capable of doing sort of very early on also.
I would definitely agree, because I feel like it was, you know, not saying that all MCU movies kind of fell
Right.
under this, but like it was Thor Ragnarok where it felt like every movie wanted to copy that movie, you know, going forward. It kind of felt like that was like the one thing that they all had in common, is that they were all trying so hard to capture that perfect balance of like comedy, action, and then just enough of a serious tone so you know to like so that the audience can at least care. But the problem is, like, you know, not everyone not everyone can do Taika Waititi like Taika Waititi. And so yeah, I think that with James Gunn, I like that he wants people to just tell their own story. He doesn't want people to copy his formula, what works about his movies. He wants everyone to be able to have their own vision, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it also kind of goes back to that idea of like when the idea of when the DCU was announced, you know, some people were turned off because they were under the impression that, oh, James Gunn is going to write or direct all these movies, they're all going to feel the same. And I think he's definitely put that to rest for quite some time now.
Yeah.
He also goes on to say he sets the record straight on rumors that the studio is unhappy with the trailer. Mind you, I have been hearing rumors that we should be getting the trailer hopefully sometime in the middle of this month. I've been hearing it possibly attached to the upcoming Mufasa movie, if I'm not mistaken. If anything, I would assume if it's attached possibly to that movie, we probably will be seeing it here within the next week or two, because I think that movie itself drops in like December 13th, or I can't remember when Mufasa winds up dropping, but I feel like it's going to be here relatively soon, Stuart. But yeah, this is what James Gunn said. Said yesterday, writer. This is what the article says. Yesterday, writer, columnist, filmmaker Dan Marcus claimed to have learned that there's enormous pressure from Warner Brothers for the Superman teaser trailer to be received well. He claimed that multiple versions have been presented to the studio, only for them to be left wanting more. Pushed for clarification, he claimed that the trailer editor showed a cut to Michael DeLuca from Warner Brothers for approval and was met with "make it better." Says anyone who knows anything about how marketing campaigns like this work will be aware that it's perfectly normal for a studio to create several cuts of a trailer. Some will be more spoilery than others, for example, and each will have a different look and feel as executives attempt to figure out how best to promote an upcoming blockbuster. DC Studio CEO and Superman writer James Gunn was asked about the rumor on Threads after acknowledging that it's sort of true. He explained just how off base this rumor is. In fairness, it says Marcus told his followers to take what he was saying as a grain of salt. So this is what James Gunn says. He says, when he says studio, that's solely me. As the only studio involved in cutting or anything to do with the trailers is DC Studios, i.e. me and Peter, and I'm the creatively demanding one, is what he says. He says, This is the exact same rigorous process I've gone through cutting every Guardians trailer, pushing for marketing folks as hard as I can, cutting and recutting until I think we have something worthy of the film itself. Gunn added, all that said, my notes are a lot more specific than make it better.
Oh, I would hope so.
So I will say, man, one of the things that I love about James Gunn is just that I love that he clarifies things for us. I love that he really doesn't let things sit out there in the cosmos too long for us to just kind of sit on it. I mean, some people may like that, some people may not. Some people may say, hey, go back to writing, go back to directing these movies, stop answering to people on social media, sort of thing. So I get both, but there is a set of a comfort that I think James Gunn at least brings to me, in the sense of like explaining the business a little bit, explaining how things truly work behind the scenes instead of just assuming things about how it kind of all comes together. And I kind of dig the idea that even he himself, I think, I don't want to say, look, does he feel pressure? I'm sure there's some level of pressure for sure. But I think this is business as usual almost for him, as the way he kind of explains it. But what do you think? How much pressure do you think is on James Gunn? What did you think about his thoughts here?
I think, yeah, no, I think he kind of, if I get the vibe that he kind of is amused by the way people who know about the insides of, like, you know, making a movie in a studio, the way they can jump to conclusions and like kind of form like conclusions that are just like nothing, like completely off base the way they are. So, you know, his response I think was hilarious, saying I my notes were not simply make it better. And I think I like that he compares it to, you know, how he's done this before with Guardians of the Galaxy. Like this is just a common practice for him. And I imagine too with Superman, I don't imagine the I don't know if pressure is the right word, but I do imagine a lot more passion behind this trailer than something that he would normally have done with his other trailers. Because for one, he's the one who now gets final say in how the trailer looks, compared to like with Guardians and Suicide Squad, where I'm sure he had input on the trailer, but he didn't necessarily get the final say. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that Kevin Feige was the one who approved all the final trailers we got for those movies, right? But this is now all up to him to decide whether or not the trailer is ready. And I think because he knows that this movie has like kind of, and I guess I will say pressure then, because there is pressure on this movie doing good, because this is going to be the movie that really, you know, shows what the universe is going to be. It's the real Kickstarter, even if it's not the first movie in this universe, it's the one that really kicks off the universe. So I'll say that there's probably a little bit of pressure in that sense, and that you really want to sell that in your trailer. You want to really get people hooked on this trailer for a movie that he clearly has a lot of passion in. So to me, him wanting to take his time with this trailer, make sure, you know, it shows exactly what he wants it to show, you know, it's exactly like he shows, just, you know, I guess he wants people to see in the trailer what he sees in his like Superman vision. So it makes sense that he might be a little more like critical about the trailer and making sure it's perfected before releasing it.
Yeah, I would definitely want to be pretty critical also. I would just laugh if it's just Clark Kent running towards the screen and he opens up his suit and then you just see the S and then like that's it. Like I am kind of curious as to, because I mean technically we are like what 7-8 months away. I guess technically it'll almost be about 8, yeah, technically 8 months if this drops in the middle of December. Like how much of the movie would you actually want to show in the teaser so far out? You know what I mean? Like this feels like, you know, like when we watch teaser trailers or when we watch trailers, they give you like a 10-second tease and then it says trailer starts now. Like I almost like, is it a tease of a tease? Like that's what I'm kind of curious as to, like how much does he really want to show 8 months out? I would think that you would want to wait a little bit longer before you give us an official teaser trailer, if that makes sense.
What I want is for the trailer to be about the length and in terms of how much information the movie or the trailer gives about the movie, I think the perfect place to look is Star Wars: The Force Awakens with that very first trailer that they released.
Oh yeah.
There's been an awakening.
Oh
And you get
yeah.
Finn, the first look at Finn in a stormtrooper, in an outfit. So, something along those lines. That's what I think you should be aiming for in terms of like, intriguing people, but not giving anything away.
I
Only
love
showing
that.
people what they're going to see, or what they already know they're going to see.
Yeah, because that Kylo Ren lightsaber igniting for the first time, like people shit their pants, man. Like it was just it was an incredible sort of first teaser. So I'm completely on board with you, and just enough, nothing too crazy. Darth Gutierrez, what's up, man? He says December is way too early for even a trailer, in my opinion. That's why I feel like it should be a tease of a tease. You know what I'm saying? Like don't give us too much. Just I think Stewart's comparison for like The Force Awakens was perfect. Dominic says, "Hey man, where's the Batman?" We'll get into some Batman news here for sure. Because James Gunn is also talking a little bit about his upcoming DCU projects, Creature Commandos, and the upcoming DCU. Let me go ahead and bring this up here real quick though. First, before we do, we did get ourselves a brand new poster. I guess CCXP convention, the one out in Brazil, I believe begins in like a week or two. They may drop the trailer at CCXP, and I only say that because the Brazil conventions have been notorious for getting really incredible scoops. Like CCXP to me is like Brazil's San Diego Comic-Con. And so I think this is going to be one of the posters that they're set to go ahead and drop at CCXP, but it wouldn't surprise me if maybe that's where James Gunn reveals the tease of a teaser trailer here within this month. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted. But you got any? What you gonna say, Stuart?
I was just thinking, like, I don't think not that I would mind a tease of a teaser, but I think at that point I would just rather have a poster, like an official poster.
Oh, I think we'll get one. I think that the poster I just showed was much more just I don't want to say fan created, but like just convention created. But I do have a feeling that we'll get a teaser poster. I do believe that. So yeah, James Gunn talks a little bit about Creature Commandos here. Let's jump into this real quick. Story says, James, you wrote Creature. First off, this is coming from Collider.com. They had the opportunity to check out the entire series for Creature Commandos. So they're kind of diving into James Gunn's brain here. It says, James, you wrote Creature Commandos before a spec thing and before you knew that you were going to be the co-head of DC. He says, it wasn't actually exactly the spec thing. He says, I think I spoke with Peter at Warner Brothers Animation, and he was like, you should do something in animation. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I think I want to do Creature Commandos. So I went and I wrote the episode. So it was sort of a spec, but it wasn't really. He says, once you got to be co-head of DC and you realized what your 8 to 10 year arc was going to be, did these scripts change at all as a result of what you realized was going to happen? He said minimally, but not a lot. A lot of what DC is, and the fun for me really is in the world building, not just the story building. I don't think of DC as being, oh, this is a story we're telling over multiple films and TV shows about one big bad. I don't want to have to do, as an audience member, the homework to have to see every single thing. It's more of a connected universe that exists within one place, which is the DCU, which will have differences depending on who the artists and directors and production designers are that are making the show. So I do love this here in the sense, Stuart, that he really kind of clarifies what the DC is going to be. He says, the fun for him is in the world building, not just the story building. A story where we're telling multiple films and TV shows, where we're not telling. He says, I don't think of the DCU as being telling multiple films and TV shows about one big bad, sort of like how the MCU did it in regards to the build up to somebody like a Thanos, so much as this is a world that is being created and these movies are just kind of in this sort of bigger world. Like, what do you think about that, Stuart?
To me, that's more fun because that's more I like that we don't have to do our homework, like he says. Not that I would have mind. Let's face it, I am a nerd, so I do it for Marvel. Even as I'm like, well, I'm not on the full bandwagon that Marvel has completely gone downhill. I am on the bandwagon of saying that, like, yeah, it's definitely not what it used to be. It definitely doesn't have that magic that it used to have. But that being said, I'm still keeping up with everything. So undoubtedly, even if there was a lot of homework required for the new DC universe, I probably would still be like keeping up with it personally. But I know that that I do not speak for like a majority of the people who are going to be watching this movie, the people that are actually going to be putting money in their pockets. So I definitely think this is a very smart approach to take, to treat each individual movie like it's its own separate story, and it builds. And the world building, if you do it that way, should just come naturally, as long as each individual like writer working on this knows the world that this story will take place in. But I love it because it also gives writers a lot more flexibility when you don't like put that limit on them, like by being like, okay, tell whatever story you want, but it has to tie into this, because with the moment you do that, then suddenly there's already a big blockade and they can't do quite as much as they normally would be able to do as a writer. So I think that's a very smart approach. I get, why Marvel does it the way they do, where for a while, at least, like, when looking at phases 1 through 3, every movie always built up to another movie, which would eventually build up to the Avengers. But I think that, we've seen how it can be done and how it can be done really well. But we also have seen how it can also fail, because we look at a lot of other cinematic universes when they try to start it up, like the Amazing Spider-Man, when Sony was trying to do its own like Spider-Man cinematic universe. And then same with when they were doing the Dark World universe, when Vin Diesel tried to I forgot what the comic line was called, but they tried to open up another cinematic universe with Bloodshot. I think that was the name of the movie. Yeah. So anyways, the reason they always fail is because they're more interested in setting up the universe than they are telling their own individual stories. And I think that going this direction of individual stories all connected in the same world, you'll build up the universe naturally, and then you also don't have to restrict your writers. And then, you could still build up like a big upcoming threat, if you just save that like little bit of a tease, like for the very end of your movie, like whether it be the very last scene or an after credit scene that doesn't even have to relate to anything that happened in your movie, can be its own separate thing to build up this new threat. Like, I think it's a smart way, especially when you're just starting out this world.
Yeah, I think I heard him compare it to, or I saw a headline somewhere where they said he compares his universe more to like how Star Wars presents itself, instead of like the MCU, just kind of taking place in this bigger overall galaxy or world and having these sort of individual movies in there. But yeah, I think for me, if anything that stands out, it is, I think, the advantages that comes with the creators then that do get the opportunity to kind of play in the sandbox, because you're not going to have a James Gunn, like you mentioned, is going to, not the sense of like this character's got to be in here. You also have to put this plot thread in here into your story somewhere, or kind of work it in, right? You're not really giving them guardrails or handcuffs that they have to kind of work their way through. So it is something pretty cool about the idea of having something like a Superman, if you will, or even a Creature Commando sort of set up the world for us and give us an idea as to what we're being thrusted into, and allowing these creators to just simply tell the story. If anything, it does make me wonder, especially when you have something like a 10-year plan, though. I got to assume that there's a big event movie at some point in time. And so I am curious as how he plans to build up to something like that. But we'll definitely see.
Mhm.
He also says, I think when people, come on, don't do this to me again, yo. How's it gonna go all the way to the bottom of the page, dog?
It wants you to read the ads at the bottom.
That must be what it is. Um. Oh my god. Says, I think when people see the finale of Creature Commandos, the first thing they're going to say is, when can I get more? Which is what I said. What have you guys been discussing when it comes to a season 2? He says, we've discussed that we'd love to do it. And as you can see from the end of season 1, it's pretty clear the direction, or at least the people that we'd like to go forward with in season 2. So obviously, we think there's a lot of story to tell. Part of it is, will James ever have time to write it? And then James Gunn laughs and he says, I will not. And then Lois says, and will James pick it up? That's kind of funny because it's like, yeah, he's the studio, right? He's got a green light. He's got a green light everything. He says it's obvious. It obviously does also come down to how many people are actually watching it also. And come on, where'd it go? I think I went a little bit too far. Collider. Y'all gotta fix this, dog. I don't know why there's so many ads these days. Okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna move on because I can't deal with this. Which characters will make the leap to live action? Will it let me even read that portion? Jesus.
You know who I want to see make the leap to live action is because we're going to get a little bit of Clayface. I assume it's going to be for a flashback, but he's going to be voiced by Alan Tudyk, and I think he'd be kind of a perfect face to put to a character like Clayface.
Yeah, Alan Tudyk. Yeah, I made a joke. It's like I feel like each week I'm coming to find out that he's playing more and more characters in this damn show.
Yeah, I think that's 3 he's voicing now because he's also like one of the main people in the Creature Commandos. And then I love how he specified, I'm not going to be voicing him the same way I did on Harley Quinn, which probably a good thing. Love him in the Harley Quinn show, but I don't think that would work in a more serious, grounded DC universe.
He did mention in this article, and if this article will ever give me the opportunity to fucking read it, he did mention the idea that he's also playing another character in here, William Magnus, I believe, which was an interesting name drop because William Magnus in DC Comics is actually the creator of the Metal Men. And so I do wonder if he has intentions of bringing somebody like the Metal Man to live action. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
That would be.
He says there's no timeline for anything in regards to the DCU's Batman hinges on one important factor. He says, James, as the co-guy who runs DC, I need to ask you a few questions if you don't mind. I love Matt Reeves' Batman, the Penguin. I can't wait to see the sequel, but I'm also wondering when you're going to introduce your version of Batman for your version of DCU. And he says there's no set timeline for anything. The one thing that I've tried to make clear to people from the beginning, and the way that I hope we're different, is that everything in DC is going to be based on the writers. Until we have a screenplay that I'm totally happy with, that movie is not going to be made, no matter what it is. We have been really fortunate with some screenplays. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow came in and just wow. Anna Noguera did such an amazing job. The Lanterns pilot came in, and now the whole Lantern series came in, and it's just like, wow, that's amazing. Wonderful work. There are a couple things that people don't know about. There are a couple of movies and TV shows that are greenlit or near greenlit, but it's going to be based always on the story, because at the end of the day, if we're happy with the story that we're telling, that's what matters most. And once Brave and the Bold gets to that point, then we'll make that movie. That's really all it is. Can I just say, what a breath of fucking fresh air this is. I absolutely love hearing this from him. And also, Stuart, this article kind of clarifies something for me. You know, when James Gunn first revealed Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, and he's going down this list of all the projects that they want to introduce and work on, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is like the timeline chronological, like this is the chronological timeline. This is like his phase 1, if you will. This movie is going to come out first, then this movie, then this TV project, then this movie, sort of thing. And that's not the case. He's literally just gave us like, these are the projects I'm going to work on. When the scripts are ready to go, we'll get them made. And so it did make me question things like, well, when I looked at the list, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow wasn't until like way past other projects that you were going to work on. Like where does that kind of all fit into play? And now learning a little bit more about the world that we're like, how he approaches the DCU, it kind of makes sense in the sense that like almost none of these movies are dependent on the timeline or when they drop or what other person's story needs to be told. They literally are just making these movies and just plopping them into the world, and we just kind of come along for the ride sort of thing. So I love that freewheelingness of like not boxing and closing yourself off to like what needs to be done first, when does this sort of come out sort of thing, and just when the scripts are ready, we'll make the movie. Until then, like we're not in the business of like trying to tell you this movie's going to release this date, this is this date, this date, this date, in order to have everything chronologically in order. And to me, that's just such a breath of fresh air, Stuart.
I agree 100%. Yeah, and I feel like he's saying what everything I want to hear, but of course, at the end of the day, it's going to be action that really shows whether or not he lives up to like everything that he's building up. So obviously, we got Creature Commandos coming really soon, which I'm looking forward to. But once we see, and I would even say like even not even just Superman, but like once we're like a couple years into this universe, I can't wait to see whether or not he's true to his word. Like you'll know from the quality of the movie if these movies feel like there's a lot of heart to them, if they feel like they have a complete story like individually, then that he's genuine when he says like we're not going to be releasing these movies until we have a finished script. So I really hope he like isn't just saying what we want to hear, but he actually like means everything that he's saying, because this is if it is, and if he's serious, I'm hoping that the qualities of these movies might put a new standard out there, not just for superhero movies, but for movies in general. The idea of not rushing a project just because you feel like you got to get something out there, rather than rather wait until you have a passionate or really done well like script that can work, and then work on it from there. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, because then we get into the idea of making announcements of, hey, we're going to release this movie this date, and then things don't come together, and then you got to push it off, and then you push it further and further and further down the pipeline, and then people just start to not really care anymore. You know what I'm saying? Or just
Star Wars.
Yeah, or just have like just a negative aspect of like you're just going to announce stuff and it's just never going to happen sort of thing. So even the interview says, I applaud you for this, because that's how you're going to keep the DC brand strong, by putting out stories that are worth telling. And he says, I totally agree. And I think it's not only about DC. I really think it's everybody. I think that we need to go back to even back in the day when I came to Hollywood. Scooby-Doo got greenlit because people liked the script. You may like the movie, you may not like the movie, but it got greenlit because people liked the script. Today, people are greenlighting projects because an IP has to be out on a certain date, which means that the screenplays are worse and movies are suffering from it. TV is thriving because there's so much good television out there, and movies are just really suffering. And it's not because people don't want to go to the box office. It's not because people don't care about that format anymore. It's because the movies aren't as good, and it all comes down to the writing. To have a director out there shooting his heart out and trying his best with something that doesn't have a third act, it's just self-sabotage, and you got to quit doing that as an industry. Amen, bro. Amen. And you just said that's true, Stuart, right? Like you hope that it's a lesson that other people in the industry kind of learn, because the idea of having to hit your mark and wondering, worrying about, oh, we got to get this project out, we got to get this project, like, no, like your story should always come first. And I love that James Gunn clearly recognizes that, man. So
I love the idea of if like his idea works as well as like he's really like claiming it will, we might go from like audience saying superhero movies ruin or superhero flicks ruined the cinema to suddenly people being like, wow, superhero movies just saved the cinema.
Yeah, right. Like, oh my goodness, DC just saved the cinema once again. But yeah, guys, I will leave it at that, just because of the fact that this article is being a pain in my arse right now, and I don't even want to deal with it anymore. But check it out for yourself. It is under collider.com. And what's crazy, Stuart? It works for me just fine, but when I'm sharing it, it acts up on me.
That's
So
when it gets all shy and it bounces all over the place.
yeah, it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, guys, let us know what you guys think in the comment section box below. Let me see. There were some comments I do want to go ahead and tackle here. Marcelino says, I heard rumors that the Authority could be changed into an animated movie or be straight to Max movie. I did hear about that also. I would be a little bit bummed about it, to be quite frank with you. I would love to see them in a live action format, but I recognize not everything could be live action. And I kind of dig the idea of them playing the back and forth game of like, here's a TV show, here's an animated series, here's an animated movie, here's a live action movie. I kind of like the idea of them tackling different mediums, but something about the Authority is one that I definitely wanted to kind of see brought to live action, honestly.
Yeah, I've been hearing that rumor too. Also, this is I assume this is a joke. I don't think, because I can't find where James Gunn tweeted this, but I just saw someone like in the Twitter handle DC Updates put James Gunn mentioned songs that will not be in Superman. First one, Don't Stop Me Now. Second one, Holding Out for a Hero. Third one, Starman.
First off, I love I Need a Hero, so I am bummed to hear that. But no, it is overused. And Don't Stop Me Now, I'm assuming that's the Queen song.
Yeah.
By the way, my little boy, 3 years old, loves Queen.
That's awesome.
He sings that damn song every day. We gotta listen to Don't Stop Me Now like 3 or 4 times. He's like, Don't Stop Me Now. Like, what do you want to watch? Don't Stop Me Now. And he's got like a electric keyboard set. His grandpa for his birthday just got him like electronic, I don't say like, I guess electronic drum set too. He doesn't have a microphone, but he takes like either the dustpan handle or our little vacuum handle, and he uses it as a microphone, and he tries to sing along with some of the words. Like we'll be driving in the back, we'll be driving in the car, and in the back seat he's singing Don't Stop Me Now in his little voice.
That is adorable.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, that's my boy for you. That's my boy. But all right, guys, let's move on to our next topic here. We'll go from the DCU over to the one of my projects I'm really looking forward to, and that is in fact the upcoming Voltron series. We've been keeping you guys up to date as often as we possibly could in regards to this, and I am really looking forward to it. I think maybe a couple of weeks ago we talked about the idea that this movie was getting ready to begin filming. It was like, I don't remember when we dropped this video, but when we did drop the video, it was like 4 weeks away from actually filming. And after that news dropped, we wind up continuing to get more. We end up getting more casting announcements. Stuart, this project is actually happening. If I do have a question, it is whether or not it's going to be in theaters or if it's going to be to streaming. I thought one of the articles we recently had read did tease the idea that it was going to have a theatrical release, but I still believe that might be up in the air. But this week, Stuart, we did get ourselves some brand new casting announcements that I want to go ahead and bring up for us here, because Variety, I think, dropped this, and they also put together a great portfolio of everybody that's been attached to this project so far. But this is in fact the new generation, the next generation of Voltron. The director himself did mention that we were going to be introduced to brand new characters, still very much inspired by the lore and the legacy of Voltron. So I'm kind of under the impression that, one, these will certainly be brand new pilots, as he certainly has teased. But I am kind of hoping that they still are sticking true to maybe the past and kind of what came before, and maybe are building off of that. But this is our brand new cast, Stuart. Deadline.com reported Voltron movie at Amazon Studio adds Sterling K. Brown, Rita Ora, and John Kim. It says plot details are under wraps, but he shared a video with the fans. He said, I want to make sure that we stay true to the heart and spirit of Voltron in this film. We're going to be introducing an entirely new generation of pilots. We're reimagining Voltron for the live action world, but we're going to stay true to the iconic elements that you love. And so, yeah, these are some of the cast members that we've got so far. What do you think, man?
So far, I notice some familiar faces in the cast. Obviously, the main one being Henry Cavill, but I do like the idea for the setup. It being a new generation, but still keeping some of the original characters, as like kind of the mentor figures in a very like Force Awakens kind of way. I think it's kind of a good way to kind of be a movie for both new and old school Ultraman fans. Or sorry, Voltron fans. Wow, two very different IPs, but you know what I meant. Because yeah, I think it's like a good way to give us like a little brief history lesson of everything that we've missed from beforehand. Also, it's kind of a cool way too for if you're a fan of the original show or if you were a fan of the Netflix series. I'm going with the assumption that this is in its own world, but there is a past with Voltron. So I think it's like kind of a cool way. So it doesn't really matter which one you were a fan of. This is going on the assumption that you have basic knowledge of the events of either show, and that this can technically kind of be seen as like a pseudo sequel to either one of them. And I think that's kind of a smart way to do it. As for the cast, so while I recognize some faces, I'm not super familiar with others. So, but I do like how it's definitely a very diverse cast. So I do look forward to seeing how they all play off each other in this upcoming. I forgot, this is a movie, right? Not a series?
Yeah, this is going to be a live action film.
Okay, yeah. And is it coming to theaters? Did they say, or is it like?
Looking in the article, it doesn't say. I want to say the last article that I read, though, whether that was the Henry Cavill one or maybe there was another casting announcement prior to this. I thought that they said that it was planning on being released theatrically, but I think that still might be up in the air. I just feel like Voltron is such an IP, and just with it being sort of like a big mecca, that you would want it on the big screen. You know what I mean? But I don't think that they've confirmed it yet.
Okay. If it is on the big screen, I will definitely be watching it that way, because I feel like when it comes to giant robots, that's the way it needs to be seen. So yeah, overall, I am looking forward to this. Definitely. Again, I'm not the biggest Voltron fan personally. I still haven't even finished the Netflix series, but I really should check it out at some point. I have no doubt that I would enjoy it. But then I also think that if I do watch it, I'll be even more excited for the show. But yeah, as of now, I definitely look forward to it. I wouldn't say I'm hyped, but I always love a good giant robot movie, so I'll definitely be checking it out when it comes out. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, Henry Cavill. I'm a big fan of the guy. So you put him in the movie, and I'm certainly there. I do like Sterling K. Brown. Is the lady at the far bottom? Is she from Andor? Is that the Andor girl?
Not that I know of. If she is, I totally forgot.
I thought she was one of the rebels that was working alongside of them in their mission in the last. Well, I think she was in the majority of the season. She had the relationship with that other rebel female. I just can't remember, but she looks super familiar to me. Her, Sterling K. Brown, Rita Ora, and Henry Cavill are like really the only ones that I recognize from this. The Daniel kid, he looks familiar. Where is he from? Do you know?
Daniel. Dude, he looks like Ace Butterfield. I don't know where I've seen him from, but that's who I thought it was looking at his face.
That's exactly who I thought it was originally too when I saw it. So I'm kind of curious as to who all these characters are certainly going to play. I don't expect them all to certainly be pilots. If anything, I would assume that maybe you've got yourselves some pilots, maybe a king here, maybe a villain here, or like a princess here, or whatever the case may be. I don't know, but I am looking forward to this. But the more and more I see of this Stewart, the more it just becomes more real for me.
Do you want Henry Cavill to be a good guy or a bad guy in this movie? Because I feel like he could do either pretty well.
I know you mentioned the idea of would really be open to the idea of him playing a villain, but man, I really want him to be the mentor. I really want him to be on the good side here, piloting the lion or having piloted one at one point in time. Maybe he makes an evil turn or something like that at the end of the movie and reveals himself to be the true villain the whole time. I don't know, but I do want Henry Cavill inside of a damn lion at some point. That's all I'm saying. I want him in a suit. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But everybody else looks so young though, and so it's just like I don't know. I don't know who he could be.
We will find out.
Yeah, we'll definitely find out. It definitely makes me want to go back and watch the 80s version and also do a rewatch of oh, by the way, I do think the Voltron series drops off of Netflix in like a week.
Really?
Yeah, I think December 7th, I think next Saturday, I believe that's the final day before they pull the series. So if you want to get it in, now's the time to watch. It has 8 seasons, but to be fair, I think like the last 2 or 3 seasons are shorter seasons. I think.
That'd be like Netflix getting rid of Stranger Things, because wasn't that like a Netflix original? Why would they?
Yeah.
Why would they remove that?
They probably want to just not pay residuals anymore. You know what I'm saying? They probably don't want to pay.
That's
pay
upsetting.
Their writers. Yeah, it is pretty upsetting. But yeah, I think you guys have until December 7th to check it out.
Got a week to binge a whole season, or no, 8 seasons. Oh, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, Ram Jam just confirmed that for me too. I do believe it is December 7th though. But definitely check it out. All right. So from Voltron to, man, I can't even believe I'm saying this, to Mighty Mouse. Look, I can't lie. I was an 80s kid, and while Mighty Mouse was certainly even a little bit before my time, I definitely caught reruns of it for sure. Like it was right up there with like Popeye and like Woody Woodpecker to me, and Tom and Jerry. You know what I'm saying? I'm just aging myself right now. For those of you who don't know, I'm about to be 42 at the end of this month. So just so you guys have an idea, but it looks like, certain IPs just never go away, Stuart. This is almost like a tale of, you can almost resurrect anything if you've got a really good idea. And this one looks like it's actually going to come to us from the minds of Ryan Reynolds and his production company. As believe it or not, we've got Mighty Mouse in the news, y'all. This is an interesting one. So let's go ahead and dive into this, as Mighty Mouse plans to come back to the big screen. Ryan Reynolds' Maximum Effort Free Guy writer Matt Lieberman team with Paramount Animation for a Mighty Mouse movie. This is an exclusive from Variety. Paramount Animation is enlisting some A-list talent in its long-running efforts to finally bring Mighty Mouse to the big screen. The studio has tapped Maximum Effort Productions' Ryan Reynolds production company to produce a feature adaptation of the popular cartoon as part of their first look deal with the studio. They also got Matt Lieberman, who worked with Reynolds on the Free Guy movie, to pen the script. Mighty Mouse has been around since 1942, with the pint-sized superhero making his debut in a short film entitled The Mouse of Tomorrow. He'd go on to star in dozens of other shorts over the ensuing decades, as well as a Saturday morning cartoon, which was responsible for Mighty Mouse theme, "Here I Come to Save the Day," which I remember that one for sure. An earthworm of an opener, if ever there was one. Mighty Mouse would be reimagined and rebooted several times, but more recent efforts to bring the cuddly adventure to screens, including one involving the team behind the Red franchise and the Meg, have faltered. It says the vice president of animated features is overseeing the Mighty Mouse project for Paramount Animation. I guess for me, Stuart, the question I would just have is, one, is Ryan Reynolds going to voice Mighty Mouse? If his production company is behind this, are we going to get the opportunity to see him voice this character? And I only say that because, one of the questions I would have is there even a market for Mighty Mouse? With this being a character from 1942, has clearly had a hard time becoming relevant again, or they've taken shots at it and it hasn't worked out before. How, is there a market for Mighty Mouse? And if there isn't a market for Mighty Mouse, could the addition of Ryan Reynolds maybe being a part in the movie or voicing the character kind of bring new eyes to the franchise and kind of help bolster it to get on the big screen a little bit more? But then again, look, we do have some really great animation these days, to certainly say the least. The idea of putting together a great animated film is certainly possible. Mighty Mouse, to me, I still think is a recognizable IP. I don't know if you have to be 40 years old like myself to know it, or if even today's generation knows who Mighty Mouse was, or it's like, oh yeah, that's a familiar character, like I've heard of it. If they could make it fresh again, if you're getting somebody like the Free Guy writer attached to it, it does make me think of like the levity and humor and like the twist on the character that you can make out of it, that it won't necessarily be just strictly like an animated superhero film. I think you can add some really great twists and turns and quirkiness to maybe this character a little bit to keep him more relevant for modern society. Um, so we'll see. I think the idea of Ryan Reynolds being attached to this is really what made me perk up my ears and want to talk a little bit about this. Because if Ryan Reynolds ends up voicing Mighty Mouse, I guess one of the questions would be: is he doing too many voices? Is Ryan Reynolds a little bit too much of everywhere these days? Is he going to start playing all these characters' voices and they all start sounding the same? Like I would be kind of curious to know if that's the route that they want to go. But the Free Guy writer, especially based off of the type of movie that it was, gives me hope that they can take a character from the 1940s and certainly make him more modern and have some fun with it. But we'll see how this turns out. What do you think, though, Stuart, from first hearing this?
I think kind of like what you mentioned earlier, the question of, is there an audience even for Mighty Mouse today? And to that, I would say kind of like, I'm sure you have people that were nostalgic for Mighty Mouse, and I'm sure those people will be excited for this. But when it comes to kids, I don't know. Like I myself never watched a single Mighty Mouse cartoon. Maybe if he made cameos in like other cartoons, I've seen him and I just never, you know, paid any note to it, or I never just like, I just don't remember. But that being said, I do think that there is potential in the Mighty Mouse IP, especially if you have someone like Ryan Reynolds attached to it. I think there's been plenty of times where like a forgotten franchise has been revived, whether it's in live action or not, and suddenly you find a whole new wave of audience, for it. And I think that could potentially be the case for a property like Mighty Mouse, especially when you have someone as recognizable as Ryan Reynolds behind it, because he's, done the movie Free Guy, which everyone loved because that was like a perfect like family film. And then he's got Deadpool, which is that movie that every kid has seen, but they tell their parents that they haven't. So yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds being attached to this, probably a very smart move.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the attachment of Ryan Reynolds is probably what's going to draw eyes to it for sure. So yeah, I'm in agreement in everything that you said in that regards. Blossom says Ryan Reynolds and Mighty Mouse. I don't know. I don't blame you.
Okay, here's my question. So Mighty Mouse, you watched the cartoons. Did he have a high-pitched squeaky voice in the cartoon?
Something tells me no.
Okay, because this would have been my question if he did. If he did have that kind of voice, would Ryan Reynolds be willing to, put a filter on his voice to make it more high pitched, or do you think he's the kind of voice actor that's like, no, people have to recognize my voice?
It's been so long since I've seen anything Mighty Mouse related, though, so I don't remember if he had like an alternate identity. Maybe he was Squeaky, but then when he turned to Mighty Mouse, it was a little bit more superhero esque. I don't really recall. I really don't recall. Remja says maybe the parents who remember Mighty Mouse could bring their kids to see the movie and educate their kids about who Mighty Mouse is. Hey, that's always an opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have to do some Mighty Mouse homework now, man. I'll have to find some old clips on YouTube and see what they're like. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Any interest in a Mighty Mouse movie? Well, if not, what about Ryan Reynolds and the Free Guy writer officially attached to it? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
I can tell you as of now, and this could change when a trailer comes out, I probably have zero interest in watching this, but I also acknowledge that I'm definitely not probably the target audience for this.
I don't know. You might be once the trailer drops. You'll be like, oh, this
Yeah,
is actually a
once the
little bit
trailer.
more adult than I thought.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's like a lot different than what you would expect from Mighty Mouse. You get like a trailer and it's like, oh, okay, consider me a new fan.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, like maybe we'll keep you posted. I don't know. We'll see what other information winds up dropping. But let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, we got one more topic we're going to be diving into. And Stuart, I got to ask you, man, have you been keeping up with, by any chance, Cobra-Kai this season?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have been purposefully waiting for all the episodes to drop. Just so that me and the girlfriend could just go ahead and binge it. So I have not watched parts 1 or part 2, but I am curious, what have you thought about it so far?
Oh, I've been enjoying it. It's
Yeah.
so silly and over the top. Especially the second part. They keep it's like funny. They keep bringing back people from the original movies to the point where we now have a guy who gets introduced into the show he recognizes Daniel and just like, wait, what's this guy from? And he's just some dude that bumped into Daniel from Karate Kid 3. And it's just hilarious how they're really like scraping the bottom of the barrel now, trying to really like bring in all these characters from the Karate Kid franchise. And I love it. They even brought back, I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler, but someone else comes back and it's like, really, you're going there? And it's the most like again, over the top cartoonish thing. And again, what works about Cobra Kai is that this didn't happen out of nowhere. There's not a single episode where Cobra Kai like jumped the shark. It just slowly over time went from being kind of a grounded coming of age type show to suddenly being a superhero show. But there isn't a single episode where it turned into that. It just was something that just slowly built up over the course of the 6 seasons. And I can't wait to see how it all concludes.
Man, there's something really intriguing now about this. I almost have to kind of catch. It's like now that they've got Jolo Mataduena as like an actual superhero, it's like, man, maybe we got to elevate this. And this other kid's supposed to be a Power Ranger one day, so maybe we should really play into this a little bit more. So I guess we'll see. But we do have some teases here. In regards to Cobra Kai's couple of final episodes, as I believe Ralph Macchio and the gentleman that plays Johnny might be talking about it here a little bit. This is comes to us from Variety.com. Cobra Kai stars Tease unexpected, uplifting finale as the show prepares to end its 6th season run. It says, as Cobra Kai gets ready to drop its final 5 episodes early next year, they promise the show will end on a thrilling note for fans. Speaking at the panel at Sony Pictures Entertainment lot, Macchio and Zabka, along with the Cobra Kai executive producers, hinted at the explosive ending of Season 6, Episode 10, sets the stage for a whirlwind last batch of episodes. He says, you need to hit the bottom to come back. To come back up, and that's kind of where we are, is where Macchio says. I'm very excited. It is set up to embrace the big 80s movie ending that I have a feeling we will find and go forward. It feels right to land the plane, is what the Cobra Kai proper, and that is this chapter is ending. He says season 6 was split into 3 segments, with the first batch of 5 episodes premiering in July, and the second part dropping earlier this month. Part 6 of season 3 lands in 2025. Zabka agreed that it was the right time to end it and the right way to end it. The producers stick the landing in a way that's unexpected, uplifting, and honest. It's a great ending for everybody, and we're so thankful we had 6 seasons to get to tell the whole story. It does say season 6 ended with perhaps its most shocking moment yet. It does say, anyway, I'm not going to spoil that for people. We wanted to make it unpredictable going forward, is what the executive producer wound up saying. What does this mean? That is the question. We have all these characters that we've been following for all these years, and this tournament meant so much to all of them in all these different ways. And then it ends like this. So we have 5 episodes left to figure out, are they going to pick up the pieces? Is the tournament going to go back on? How do these characters react to what just happened? Episode 10's massive fight sequence was perhaps the largest the show had ever done, an epic example of how the show has continually tried to top itself. It was a painstaking effort in line with our director. And in the writings room, making sure that every punch, every kick, every time the camera moves has to be motivated. We can't just have background performer number 3 coming in and punching somebody. We have to set up in previous episodes to even get to that place. You have to care about all these little mini moments and not just the full on crazy 2-on-1s.
And you definitely had that kind of build up leading into the big brawl at the end of episode 10. I think the way it was built up and executed was kind of perfect again for the type of silly show that this is trying to be. That is.
If anything, I do love the fact of him mentioning that this is going to end in sort of a big sort of 80s classic style movie sort of way. Because I got to tell you, man, some of the best endings of 80 films were Karate Kid movies. All right. Like, it gave me goosebumps. The music was always rousing, always great endings. And so I hope they stay true to keeping the theme with the Karate Kid for ending this off. It says the series also has a culmination of long evolving relationships between Daniel and Johnny. The producer says they worked hard to add multiple dimensions to all these characters, including taking villainous characters and flipping things on their head to see them in a much different light. Johnny Lawrence was always the antagonist in the original Karate Kid, and now you're rooting for him. We really get in the head of all the. Some people would say it was Daniel, just so you know. We really get in the head of all our other characters, including the villains. It's so much fun in the writers' room. We're always talking about how do you up the stakes, but also keep it real. And you'll see in the last 5 episodes, we bring it to the next level. But it's going to ultimately hit home in a real, relatable way. And then William Zabka says the experience of revisiting character from his youth has been a delightful surprise. As an actor, to get to play a character so three-dimensional, heartfelt, and funny, and all those things, that's what you sign up for when you do this. You want to make an impact on somebody. The fact that it's tied into Karate Kid and has all these great themes and fan base and all that just makes it surreal. I will end on that note, but the surrealness, I got to imagine that's as real as it gets. And because I don't think William Zabka, if you had told him 10 years ago that he was going to have a job that was going to last him this long in acting, that he would believe you. The fact that they managed to revive these characters after so long and make them relevant again in pop culture in some capacity, I think is a miracle in and of itself. So it's almost like it breathed a second life into William Zabka's career and just his life in general. Like, I'm sure his life is completely changed from what it was for himself when he first signed up for this particular show. And so to kind of see that come full circle for all those characters that had those one-offs in a movie from the Karate Kid so many years ago and really never got mentioned in any other Karate Kid movie, right? Because Johnny wasn't in 2. He might have been in.
He was in the very beginning.
Oh, well, that was like a flashback, wasn't he? Oh no, that wasn't a flashback.
It was right after the
right
tournament.
After the tournament,
Chris was like breaking his arm.
Yeah.
Or no, he was choking him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kreese put his hands punched his hands through the windows. But like after that, it's like, Johnny's not really that big of a thing anymore. And so to have William Zabka come back and have this career, and he talks about like, this is like, as an actor, this is what you really signed up for, being an actor, not just a one-off and you're done sort of thing, but like to really be able to embrace these characters and have those multidimensional moments and really be able to tap into those characters. I think there's something really cool about that I appreciate.
Definitely.
So we'll see, man. Guys, let us know your thoughts. How are you feeling about the last final 5 episodes of Cobra-Kai? I'm gonna wait for them to all drop, and then I think the girlfriend and I will certainly go ahead and binge the season finale. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get into it, especially after how you portrayed it to me, Stuart. Like, Do we have capes? That's all I'm wondering. Is there any capes involved?
Not quite to that level. And when I say superhero, I don't mean like they're literally like, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, just you see it in season 5 with how like Terry literally wants to put like, you know, Cobra Kai's in every town across America. So it's like, in a way, he's literally trying to take over the world. So in that sense, and how over the top Kreese is, and how over the top a couple other characters we will see in this are, that's what I mean in like the superhero aspect. And then even just the brawl, the way they end it, it was so epic but silly at the same time. And again, it never takes me out of it. It's like the heart is still there, and that heart, of course, just being the characters. Something else I kind of realized while watching this last episode, because of how many times like Johnny and Daniel are constantly like, yeah, we're best friends again, and then one of them says something and then the other guy's like, no, F you, and then they fight. They're Goku and Vegeta, man. They can get along as long as they have a chance to beat the crap out of each other every other day. You know, as long as they can fight and just get it out of their system, because for the two of them, fighting is like fucking. You know, as long as they can get that out of their system, they can get along. They just have to be allowed to like fight every now and then. You're muted.
I think that's a perfect comparison, bro. Because I was just literally thinking to myself too, like, how many times in this show have we seen them sort of make up, and then all of a sudden something happens and they want to fight each other or punch each other in the face? And like, I remember towards the end of the other season, I'm like, oh man, they're finally good again. And then I see the trailers and I'm like, they're still fighting. Like, guys, get your together. Like, let's go. Like, what is going on here? So the fact that you still mentioned that they're still fighting, despite the fact that they're like, we're besties now, like that just makes so much sense to me. They're Goku and Vegeta. I love the comparison, bro. Great comparison. Blossom says, I love how Cobra Kai has shown how much Johnny's grown up. For sure, he's definitely come a long way. Ending already though, geez, Jody. I mean, it does, to me it feels like it feels long. And I say that just because of like just thinking about where this show started off at as like a YouTube series. And after all those years that it's finally been here, I guess my biggest worry was, let's not milk this series for more than it's worth. And I think this probably is like the best time to certainly end it. So yeah, it's been around, I think, a lot longer than it. To me, it feels like it's been around for a minute.
Yeah, it definitely does, especially because, yeah, like you said, it was a YouTube series. This show started off as a YouTube series, and while I enjoyed season 1, like really, really enjoyed it, I didn't think this show had more than one season in it. I thought, actually, I was kind of annoyed when they ended it like on a cliffhanger, because I'm kind of like, what else can you do? And season after season, the show keeps continuing to show me, no, we can keep this going. And the smart thing they do is they don't repeat itself. They don't try to like do what made the previous season successful. Every season, it feels like they're trying something different. There's always something new going on. And, you know, the only thing that really gets repeated, like I mentioned, and like we both kind of like mentioned, is Johnny and Daniel not being able to get along. That's the only thing. But at this point, I feel like that kind of works now. They've kind of embraced the fact that they'll always like have like an irritation towards each other, and rather than just trying to like completely work past that, they're working with it now. And I think that's what they finally kind of discovered in the last couple episodes is, okay, we just need to be able to fight every now and then and we're good.
Yeah, man, I love that. Absolutely love that. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on the remainder episodes of Cobra Kai season 6. And if you have seen some of the episodes, what are your thoughts? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stuart, I think you know what time it is.
I do indeed. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into some live viewer questions for you guys today. And if you ever want to submit a live viewer question over, let me go ahead and show you. So every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we'll go ahead and drop a post for you guys. Just go over to our YouTube channel, as you see right here. Click on that community tab and voila. Live viewer questions right there. So let's go ahead and dive in here. I know Marcelino said he had several questions. So we'll see how much we can actually get into today. Let me put on some smooth tunes also while we get this started. If the music's too loud, somebody let me know. All right. Update on my little boy.
Oh, hang on, it's taking a
Yeah.
minute for.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Update on my little boy. I'm gonna try and skim through these. He's not doing too well. He did fall asleep though, but he's got like 104 fever right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think 105 is the emergency room limit. He's already taken his medication, so I think we're gonna wait and see if his medication kind of kicks in and brings his temperature down. But he was saying his stomach was hurting also. So yeah, it was like 99 before I even did this. I do wonder if the shower might have overheated him a little bit. So we'll see if his temp kind of comes down. I'll keep you guys posted. All right, let's try and get through some of these. Jessica Friedman, do you think it's time for Sony to add a Spider-Person to their villain movies? And do you think we will see Jordan and Jonathan in their suits during the finale, Stuart, of Superman and Lois?
I hope so. So for those who are not aware, the suits there were concept art suits leaked for Superman and Lois for Jonathan and Jordan Kent. They were in a Superman book that's going to be coming out. But if you go to that book on Amazon, it lets you preview the first 4 pages, I believe, for free. And that's where people, even though the book isn't even out yet, that's where people discovered this leaked concept art. So I hope, because those suits look so cool, I really hope we get to see them in the finale. So I don't know, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, me too. I would love to. Do you think it's time for Sony to add a Spider-Person to their villain movies? Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess for me, my impression of what Sony was doing was, hey, we're going to establish a couple of these villains, and then we're going to have a Spider-Man movie where he maybe they were, I thought originally they were kind of creating their Sinister Six, and then there would be a Spider-Man movie where it would be like finally their crossover event of a Sinister Six film, and that's where we would get like our Miles Morales, or hell, even like Andrew Garfield sort of thing. So I don't know. But I do think at this point, look, we still got Kraven the Hunter that's set to go ahead and drop this month too. I am eager to or cautiously eager to see what Kraven the Hunter is certainly going to be like. But yeah, man, at this point, Sony, just give me another Spider-Man movie. I don't care if it's Andrew Garfield. I don't care if it's Miles Morales, but I need a Spider-Man somewhere in these villain movies. They're just not standing alone. They're just not standing on their own 2 feet.
I more than anything, I just really want to see a Venom versus Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, that's all we want. Blossom says, didn't you hear about Elon Musk taking Hasbro? I hope he doesn't. Everything Hasbro has made up all these years, including Power Rangers, would be as good as destroyed if he gets it. I did see that rumor. Is that a thing? Is he really? I'm gonna have to look that up.
I saw that question. I looked into it, and yeah, I guess it is one of the things that he is considering buying, and I hope not. Oh my gosh, you can't even run a social media page, dude. Why would you want to buy a toy company? And okay, keep in mind, I'm trying so hard not to turn into the thing that I hate, which is when people like look too deep into movie studios and say, oh, this is all part of a political agenda and that kind of stuff. But that being said, I could see Elon Musk being the kind of dude that would try to indoctrinate children by adding political like bad kind of political propaganda in cartoons. So I hope it doesn't happen. There are so many reasons I think Elon having Hasbro would be a terrible and possibly dangerous idea. I know, a toy company. How could that be dangerous? Well, you never know. Elon Musk.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. What he's turned X into, I think, first off, he overpaid for X, and he's managed to somehow turn X into like Russian propaganda, fake misinformation. I mean, just a toxic cesspool. I call it a toxic cesspool like all the time. He's lost a ton of money. Ad revenues don't even want to be attached to the platform anymore. I feel like when he attaches himself to certain things, that they just kind of crumble underneath him. Like, I could see him. I totally agree with you, Stuart, in the sense of what he could potentially do with Hasbro in the sense of indoctrinating people, but also like, hey guys, now we've got all the stuff, we can make it not woke anymore, right? So like,
Exactly.
if you're a Power Ranger fan, you can forget a female Red Ranger like ever again, bro. Okay, like that's not happening. So I just don't trust him in the hands of having that kind of leverage and power over these products and franchises in regards to what he can do. So no, I keep him far away from it, please.
Yeah, because with Disney, their agenda is they want to make money. Elon Musk has money, so like, yeah, I don't see him having the agenda of trying to make a profit with a property like Hasbro.
Marcelino says Elon Musk says he thinks of buying Hasbro because he hates how they disrespected the creator of D&D and wants to make it great again. In his own words, of course, they want to make everything.
I don't know anything about the creator of D&D, but I do know that like D&D's only been gaining more and more success.
Yeah, it's great now.
Especially with Baldur's Gate 3. Like, oh my gosh, not only did that game do good on its own, but it also like heavily, rose the stocks for Dungeons and Dragons, the property in general.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Chris Cox is now the CEO, because of like what he's been able to do on the gaming side when it comes to things like D&D. I mean, that's Chris Cox like bread and butter. That's like the only thing he wants to push these days. So like, yeah, Elon's he's just lying to you. He's just lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here, Marcelino. What are some memes that you were tired of seeing and wish they would die out already? For me personally, I'm getting tired of seeing meme where people rate stuff using the memes where Penguin Zio is shouting with excitement, Homelander saying it's perfect, the guy eating who says, I mean, it's all right, and one where The Rock says it's the biggest piece of dog shit. I'm tired of seeing all these memes everywhere. I don't know if I have a meme that I'm tired of.
It's hard to get tired of memes now because it's rare that they stick around that long. I mean, compared to like early 2010s where if a meme was popular, you would hear about it for like a month. Nowadays, it feels like if a meme is popular, you see it for 2 days before it's suddenly outdated.
I do miss them. I will say the one of the memes that I guess for me, when I see a meme, I always find it used in great context, and so it always makes me laugh, or I'm always like, oh yeah, that was a good use of it. Like there's one where there's a group of kids like getting all hyped, and there's one kid's like, oh, his face in the camera, like that one always makes me laugh. Like it might be, it's definitely overused, but every time I see it, it's always like utilized in great fashion. But I other than that, I don't really pay attention to that stuff.
That is one of the rare exceptions. That meme will never die. And I think it's just because that video that it originated from was just so funny.
Let's see here. Power Rangers sometimes will give their teams uniforms. Power Rangers sometimes will give their teams uniforms they always wear. SPD had cadet uniforms. Mystic Force had robes. Both Wild and RPM had jackets. Ninja Storm had ninja outfits, among many others. I always like the idea of uniforms more than regular civilian clothes, simply because I feel like Power Rangers should wear something special. It put the power in Power Rangers. But what are your thoughts on uniforms and Power Rangers? Do you prefer them over civilian clothes?
I think it depends on the series, because I do agree there are some shows where I think they should have a uniform. Like in space, I like how they have a uniform when they're kind of like in outer space, but when they're on Earth, they tend to be in their civilian clothes. Yeah. But in Lost Galaxies, they're always in their uniforms, and then same with plenty of all the examples that you listed. I think that if they're working for an organization of some sort, that they should definitely have uniforms for sure. But I also think that if you have a season like Dino Thunder, where it's high schoolers, I don't think it would make too much sense for them to have those kind of uniforms. I think it works with the seasons,
Yeah, I thought In Space was a really good balance of that, but I would agree with you. I think it just really depends on what you're going for. Like, if are the public aware that you're a Power Ranger, right? Do you work for a corporation or a company where that's like your main job? Then yeah, the idea of a uniform certainly works for me. I don't have a problem with civilian clothing either, though. But where civilian clothing gets me is when I feel like they still wear a lot of the same clothes all the time, or do they at least switch that up? Because like, as long as they're not in the same similar outfits every single episode, I'm usually okay with it. But I'm do I prefer one over the other? I probably if I had to pick, I would probably say I prefer the uniforms. I probably prefer the uniforms personally. But I would agree. I don't have an issue if it's well balanced, or really depending on what the situation calls for.
Yeah, I think overall I would agree too. I also do kind of prefer uniforms. Just yeah, I think it's also creative for the costume department when they can come up with
Yeah.
a set of uniforms of their own to put their own stamp on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Have you ever watched the show Primeval? To give you a quick rundown, it's a British sci-fi show where scientists are trying to figure out why time portals that summon prehistoric beasts and futuristic monsters are appearing in the present day. It's available on stream on Peacock. I've heard of it, but I've never checked it out before.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but like you, I've heard nothing but good things about it from quite a few YouTube like YouTubers like Johnny Ticello, where they review like adult animated content. They tend to be pretty positive about that show.
Oops, hold on a second. Sorry, my camera went down. And then he does have one last question. I think this is in regards to building up on the question he had last time. Last week, I asked the characters who were criticized as waste of potential that you personally disagreed with, and Adam couldn't think of any. Well, here are some options of characters who were criticized as waste of potential, as well as people who disagree with the notion that they were wasted. Some are my own opinions, others come from other people, and Stuart, please chime in case there's something Adam doesn't know. Some think that Dave Bautista on Dune was wasted, as he was just a brute and that he could have been more he could have been used more. Me personally, I like that he was only a brute. It shows that brute strength alone isn't enough to stop Paul, and shows why Fade gets involved. Having him be anything more takes away from a Fade's presence. So I haven't watched all of Dune yet, so I don't really know that one. Ali, but I guess my question would be, how much of a presence in the book does he have? And if he was underutilized or not, I don't really know. Ali Alston from Superman and Lois season 2 is criticized for being generic one-note villain. I think that was the point. I think the point was that we didn't see her as sympathetic or three-dimensional. I think the goal was for her to be insane, narcissistic cultist that you want to see get beaten. People think Garza Fwip, played by Jennifer Beals on Boba Fett, was wasted potential. Garza Fwip?
Was she one of the Power Rangers from that show? I call them Power Rangers because like they all have like their own color, like coordinated cybernetic enhancements and their own vehicles.
Oh, hold on. Oh, she was the Twi'lek.
Oh, okay.
That owned
That's right.
That owned the bar. Yeah, I would have totally agree with that. Oh wait, hold on a second. He says people think that played by was waste of potential, while others think she served her purpose just fine and didn't need to be more. I do think it was waste of potential. I think she's a really good actor, and I think from the minimal scenes that I saw from her in Boba Fett, I did want her to have a bigger presence. So I do feel like she was underutilized and wasted potential in that one. Lex's death from the 100 has been criticized, an example of bury your gaze trope, especially since minutes before she and Clark made amends and finally became a couple. But there are others who argue that her death was necessary to push the plot forward, and that the writing came first.
I will say this, when it comes to the bury your gays trope, while I do agree that yes, that was definitely and still is in some media a big problem and just kind of overdone. I feel like nowadays though, whenever there is a gay character who is killed off in something, it's like that's kind of like the thing that people just jump to immediately. Is like, oh no, it's the bury your gays trope, when it could just be, no, this was actually important for the story that this person died to move the story forward. I can't say for the 100, never watched it, but at the same time, I'll say that in general, I have noticed that like people will jump to that when I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Some think Wong is wasted potential, believing he could have become a well-rounded character rather than just being comedic relief. Others like him just being is this like Wong from the MCU?
I think so, yeah. I think he's been utilized.
Yeah,
maybe not in Doctor Strange as much, but in other films.
Yeah, I like how they utilize him so far. Game of Thrones introduced a prostitute. To be frank with you, he probably would have had a bigger role in something like Shang-Chi too, but we never got that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones introduced a prostitute named Ross, who by the end of season 2 teams up with Varys to take down Littlefinger. When Littlefinger grows suspicious, he has her executed by Joffrey off screen. Something she's wasted potential, as she could have gone from prostitute to political mastermind. Others didn't care for her and only cared what happened to Varys. I didn't really care. I think we're kind of getting a little bit of that in House of the Dragon now with the woman that's sided herself with
Rhaenyra,
because she started off as a prostitute, if I'm not mistaken, and then she eventually went to her uncle's side, right? Weren't they supposed to be married, I thought, at some point?
Yeah, I think
he dropped
like
right?
she and the uncle were gonna get married, and then of course, never actually, because he never commits to anything. And so she's like, you know what? Rhaenyra is like the only person that actually seems to be someone who sticks to her morals and like sticks to her guns compared to like every other person I've seen.
Yeah, so I feel like we kind of got that now in House of the Dragon, but at the time for her, no, I don't think I really cared. Kendra the Vampire Slayer was only in 3 episodes, then got killed off. Many people say that she should have lasted longer by combining her and Faith's storyline as one, thus creating one character, and instead of being killed off, she just gets injured or is assumed dead. Walking Dead season 4 introduced Joe and his group, the Claimers, who were bad people that still had some morals. They were killed off at the end of the season after trying to kill Rick's group, and some felt disappointed as they have been morally gray characters who lasted longer. In future seasons, they either help Rick or Negan's group. Do you agree with any of those? Do you remember season 4, Joe?
Yeah, I know exactly what group you're talking about. I mean, I don't know if I would call them morally gray. Like, yeah, they had their code, which seemingly on paper, if you followed that code, that would mean, okay, cool, everyone can get along. But I think that the moment you make that punishment of disobeying that code being that you get beaten to death, I think that's when it's like, it's no longer gray. That's just straight up bad. Like it'd be one thing if it was like, oh, you stole our food or something. But it's like, if you steal anything from anyone, like whether it be a pencil, the punishment is getting beaten to death. It's like, I wouldn't call that morally gray at that point. But that's just me.
Some of them I didn't recognize storyline wise, but I definitely agree with the Boba Fett one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Peg C, what's up, Peg C? What are your thoughts on the first leak images of Super Sentai series Goes Yuger? I'm hyped for it. I think it looks incredible. I love the costume designs. I say this every time. Hey, let me get let me watch this Super Sentai season, and I feel like lately I've never been able to make it through. It's one of those things too, Stuart, where like, 22 episode seasons, okay, cool, I'm on board. I think I could probably, maybe my attention span can handle something like that. But Super Sentai seasons are so, I guess as the older I get, the more I start like, man, these seasons are long, bro. Like, I don't know how people keep up to them on a weekly basis, like year in and year out like that. I mean, I did it for quite some time, but for me, I find Super Sentai easy to fall off just due to the amount of episodes. Regardless, this is one I definitely want to check out. I love the theme of beasts. The mecha itself looks absolutely incredible. So maybe I'll give it a shot. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to keep up when it's new, but it's easier for me to binge, because even though it's like 50 episodes, it's, each one's only 20 minutes. But that being said, I haven't binged a Sentai season in quite some time, so I really should find one that looks really cool and watch again, because I really do enjoy watching them.
Dominique has a question. Maybe what about Batman and Superman and Lois season 4?
See,
Anything?
okay, this is gonna be weird. I hope there isn't Batman. There isn't a Batman cameo in Superman and Lois season 4, because right now I'm just gonna stick with the headcanon that Superman and Lois is in the same universe as the Robert Pattinson Batman movies, and as long as neither one of them reference each other, that headcanon will stay intact. The only Gotham Easter egg we got in Superman and Lois was like an article that came from the Gazette in the episode where Superman makes his return in season 4. There's like a small like Gotham Easter egg, but other than that, neither show has referenced too much in, like, Superman hasn't referenced too much in the Batman mythos. Batman hasn't referenced anything in the Superman mythos. So for now, I can pretend those shows are connected.
The question, what makes you have that headcanon in the first place? Was the Easter egg something that teased at it being the Robert Pattinson one?
Oh, nothing. Literally the only thing that makes me want this as my headcanon is that I just think they would have such cool on-screen chemistry if they ever met. There is nothing from either the producing side of things or anything to suggest that they are connected. It is just my own personal headcanon. Are you frozen? Oh, and now he is gone. All right. So moving on to the second question, and I'm sure he'll be back soon. What were your initial thoughts on the Red Battle Sword from Zeo? I gotta be honest, the Zords in Zeo, memorable, but not my favorites in general. Red Battle Sword kind of falls under that. Like, I don't hate the design of it. It's just not my personal preference in terms of like Zord designs. Adam is now completely gone, so I'm going to share my screen real quick. I always forget how to do this, even though it's super simple. Here it is. And okay, here we go. And share. All right. And then question number 3. Did you ever watch Are You Afraid of the Dark? And if so, what were your initial thoughts, and what was your favorite episodes from the show? I'd seen a couple episodes here and there. But I don't have as much nostalgia for it as I did for the Goosebumps back when I used to watch that show all the time, because I think they were around at the same time. I just don't remember too much of Are You Afraid of the Dark? But concept wise, I always think it's really cool. I always wish that I kind of did that as a kid, took my friends out camping and then told ghost stories like as a weekend thing. Like that kind of a club would have been hella fun to be a part of back in the day. But yeah. I did watch the first season though when they revived the show, and thought that was a pretty cool way to modernize it and to actually make it even more horrifying, I think, than the original. What about you?
It's been so long since I've watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? So if anything, I don't necessarily recall a particular episode, but I do remember growing up as a kid, it legit frightened me. I do remember times trying to watch it with the lights off and just the TV on, and I do remember times like I couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do it. But I thought it was a really cool premise. It was always one of those things where the concept of camping I've always enjoyed, and I've always wanted to be that person that had a great ghost story to tell. And I just never had good ghost stories to tell, but I always dug the concept of sitting around the fire, hanging out with friends and telling ghost stories. But I was just never that kid that had a good ghost story. So this was like my my way into that world of experience and that type of stuff. But yeah, I love being frightened and scared even as a kid. But yeah, I couldn't watch it with the lights off for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then question 4, do you think Star Fox or Super Metroid would make for a good movie? I feel like Star Fox would make for a really fun animated movie, but Metroid would make for an epic sci-fi. So yes to both of those. What about you?
I remember wasn't Brie Larson like rumored to be cast in like a Metroid a movie? Maybe I'm tripping. I'm not quite sure.
She would look pretty badass in the Zero suit, I think.
But I feel like that was such a long time ago. I don't know if that was just a Grand Assault thing or something that they were actually thinking about. But yeah, I'm open to either or. I think Star Fox is ready to be made. I that's definitely something I would love to see animated. Yeah, absolutely. Hell, I wouldn't mind live action with like puppeteers and shit. Maybe give me like a Dark Crystal level of animation for Star Fox. I'd be all down for it. But yeah, I think both of them are ripe to be made. Definitely.
Yep. As long as we get in the Star Fox movie the line, do a barrel roll.
Yeah, dude, yeah. No. Yeah, oh my god, they used to annoy the shit out of me though playing that game. Like, don't tell me what to do, bro. Don't tell me what to do. All the time, you tell me. Real quick, Marcelino says, when I say Wong was wasted, I'm talking about him being more of a character who isn't just comedic relief, like learning his backstory, why he dabbled in magic, and having other traits outside of comedy. I would agree with. I would agree. I would like to see that.
To that, I would say there's still time.
Yeah, there's still time. The most talented man in the world. Home Alone 1 was cold. While Home Alone is a comedic film, there are a few scenes that could be considered cold in the sense of being tense and suspenseful. The initial break-in attempts, when the Wet Bandits first attempt to break into McAllister's house, the tension is palpable. The determined expressions in Kevin's clever traps create a sense of unease. The tarantula trap, the scene where Harry gets a tarantula on his face, is undoubtedly shocking and humorous, but it also highlights the danger Kevin poses to the intruders. The booby-trapped house, as the Wet Bandits navigate the house, encountering various traps, the audiences experience a mix of amusement and suspense. The potential of serious injury adds a layer of tension to the comedic chaos. The final confrontation, the climactic scene where Kevin faces off against the Wet Bandits in the attic, is filled with suspense and excitement. The physical confrontation, coupled with the realization that the intruders are genuinely scared, creates a chilling atmosphere. It's important to note that while these scenes are intense, they are ultimately part of the comedic film. The coldness is balanced by humor and a sense of justice being served. Do you guys disagree or agree or disagree? What are the holiday films have very cold, intense scenes that made it stand out and memorable, especially when watching many times? Well, if you count Die Hard as a Christmas film, there you go. Some people won't though. I mean, I agree to disagree. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I never really thought of Home Alone in that sense of like, while it is comedic fashion, that there is a coldness or a suspense or I don't think watching it as a kid I don't know if I ever, maybe watching it as a kid, I kind of felt that way. Like, oh my God, are they going to get Kevin? But I think as I've watched it more and I know what's coming, maybe as a kid, it had that suspense to me. But as an adult, maybe not so much anymore. What about you, Stuart? Do you get what he's trying to say, though?
I would never say cold. I would say more, I don't know. I think only because we know that this isn't the real world, because half those traps would have killed those two. I could no way find it like that, like suspenseful or cold. I could only find it funny. I always look at Home Alone as actually like a wholesome comedy, because while the slapstick that you get in there is just out of the top and out of this world, like again, those burglars would be dead from half the stuff that we see, and that joke has been used to death on so many different YouTube channels. But that being said, though, I always think of it as a wholesome movie, because even though that's like all there, that's like the last 20 minutes of the movie compared to like, the other 60 minutes, which is like, a little bit of fun, but also a lot of heart, in terms of Kevin kind of reflecting on, his family kind of realizing, hey, yeah, they get on my nerves, but I love them in the end. And then also that super sweet ending, like of not only Kevin, reckoning with his family, but also like the implication that the same happens with his neighbor too. And like the two of them sharing that kind of smile with each other, I just thought was incredibly sweet. So it's just funny because cold would probably, looking at that movie, cold would be the last word I would use to describe it, unless we're talking about the weather.
Is there a particular trap that always made you cringe?
The nail when he is barefoot, because the way they filmed that, that actually did have a little bit of suspense. I'll give it that one did kind of make me cringe every time.
I have two that comes to mind that I'm just like, oh my god, I know that probably would have been painful when they touched the doorknob that it's overheated and they were like, they branded their hand. That always got me. And then when they it must be a foot phobia thing. Yours with the nail, but mine's with like the ornaments or like the micro cars when he climbs through the window barefoot and he steps on everything. I'm like, oh my god, that just looks painful as hell. That gets me.
I always think of the Family Guy bit. We now return to Home Alone with competent robbers. Yeah, so the door handle was a bit hot, so I just made sure to remove my hand from the handle the moment it started to burn me. Also, there's some marbles in the window, so just make sure you walk around them.
I love it. My friends call me Joseph. What's up, Joseph? Appreciate coming through. What did you think of the 2009 live action adaptation of Dragon Ball? Oh my god.
Okay,
Dragon
next
Ball
question.
I remember it received huge backlash from critics and fans on how it was filmed and written. All the characters were whitewashed and had very abysmal special effects and atrocious acting. Yeah, if people are upset about Astrid, please go watch Dragon Ball Evolution, okay? The film was basically a high school drama with all the iconic characters being very inaccurate and disrespectful to the original animated TV show and manga. I recall Goku was obsessed with trying to get the attention of the character Chi-Chi so he could have sex with her. The character Piccolo looked very weird compared to what he looked like in the animated series and manga. As a result of these factors, Evolution was a commercial and critical flop, and it remains one of the most infamous examples of poorly executed live action adaptation of an anime or manga. The negative reception of the film has a lasting impact on the perception of live action adaptations of those. It has made studios more cautious about taking on such projects. As a result of huge backlash, actor Justin Chatwin, who played Goku in the movie, never spoke of the movie ever again, and even felt ashamed of it when it asked in public. What other live action movie adaptations have you seen or remembered being very bad and disrespectful to its source material, or were they actually very well done? I will say, another moment from Dragon Ball Evolution that just gets me tripping is when Goku literally slides on the top of the car across his head. I was like, this is the most randomest shit that I've ever. I went to the movie theaters to see this. Like, I literally spent my hard-earned money to go see Dragon Ball Evolution in the movie theaters, and I was just so highly disappointed. But what other live-action adaptations have you seen or remember being very bad and disrespectful to its source material?
I was not at all. I mean, obviously, I think I've talked about this one before, but The Last Airbender from M. Night Shyamalan. Again, I don't think the Netflix adaptation was very good. I thought it was okay, but the big thing I can say about that is that you can tell they love the source material it came from. Whereas I just don't think I can say that about the M. Night Shyamalan version of the film, where very much like. What was the example? What was the thing we were talking about earlier where I said that it felt like it was ashamed of itself? I can't remember what we were talking about when I said that, but I feel the same way about The Last Airbender. It kind of felt like M. Night Shyamalan was making an Avatar movie, but he was embarrassed by Avatar.
Yeah, man. I can't remember now off the top of my head. He also says, or were they actually done very well, or ones that we thought were done really well? I put in worst live action adaptions just to see like what Google would give me from sources across the web, and this movie being on here really blows my mind, and it just continues to solidify like I'm the only person in the world that loves this movie that everybody I think hates. Speed Racer
I love Speed Racer. Oh my gosh.
I loved Speed Racer. I mean, granted, it is whitewashed film, but holy crap, I thought the Wachowskis did an incredible job on that film. It's a movie that literally, like, it's so over the top, but it embraces what it's meant to be, and it amplifies that with a great story and incredible special effects and a great soundtrack. I mean, when I watch Speed Race, I literally am invested every time. And whether that be him, like, in the beginning of the film trying to keep up with his brother's legacy, like, is he gonna beat his brother's time? Like, I'm invested all the way to the very last. Like, I don't want to go so far and say it's like one of the best climaxes of a movie, but the way that it's edited in the final race, where you've got it's coming down neck and neck, the editing is fast, you're throwing in the commentators really quickly, close-up shots, the dynamic special effects. I mean, it's just all hitting you all at once in the face, attached with an incredible soundtrack. And the finish is just one that I've seen so many times, Stuart, but it's like Back to the Future. I know Marty McFly is going to get there, but I'm so nervous, and I know, like, it gets to me all the time. But even though I know the outcome, the Speed Racer finale gives me chills all the time. So I'm surprised that Speed Racer's on this as a worst live action adaptation. But if there was to answer the question, was there any that were good? That's the one I would answer for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I don't have an attachment to Speed Racer, so maybe if I did,
yeah, I don't
different. But with what we got from the movie itself, everything about it was perfect. What people say about Galaxy Quest, how like there was one famous critic that said there was one perfect new movie and its name is Galaxy Quest. I would say, hey, Speed Racer also is kind of a perfect film. Like, it's got, I will say this, man, I'll take this one to my grave. I know some people hate it because it's too fast paced and it's too over the top. It's got the best editing in any film ever.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that there's momentum and it's constantly going. The only time the editing kind of threw me off was when you had kind of the coolest supervillain speech ever. And then in the middle of it, you kind of had like the cartoonish chase going on. It's like, okay, in that particular instance, I wish the villain got through with his speech first and then we got back to the cartoonish chase. But besides that, the editing all the way through is just so perfect. The momentum just gets me invested every time. Like, it is the movie that I just never want to pause. I'm never bored. I just want to just watch. The moment it starts, I have to see it all the way through.
Yeah, that's same for me. And Christina Ricci,
very
chef's kiss, man. Let's see here, what else we got. Thank you for that question. Doomsday. You may have misread my question from last week. I tend to do that, Doomsday. I'm so sorry. I wasn't just asking of your ranking of the Dino themed Power Ranger season. I was actually asking of your ranking of the season's openings. Oh God. Jesus.
Openings. That's okay. I would say, okay, my list will definitely be different now because I'm going to say that Mighty Morphin will be my number one for that.
Yeah, I was about to say probably Mighty Morphin for me.
Actually, you know what's funny? It's just going to be in the same order in which they came out. Mighty Morphin number 1, Dino Thunder number 2, Dino Charge number 3, and Dino Fury. Dino Fury number 4. For me, what I loved about Dino Charge's opening is that it was like after 2 really bad seasons, and the show just felt like it needed something fresh. And I think the fact that we had a Red Ranger who was a lot different from what we got in the previous 2 seasons, because I'm just going to say this, man, Troy and Jaden were almost the same character. They were just so, at least their personalities were, in terms of background and that kind of character development kind of stuff. Sure, that was different, but their personalities were exactly the same. Whereas Brandon Mejia's character Tyler, right? That was his name in the show. Yeah. Amazing. Like, from the beginning, I'm like, I love this guy. He instantly became one of my new favorite Red Rangers from the first episode. Dino Thunder I loved, of course, because, like, you know, we get Tommy Oliver back, and I think it just did a great job of setting up the mystery involved. And also, Tommy kicks the freaking dinosaur. How cool is that? And then Dino Fury would be my last because, like, even though it's a good first episode, I just, it didn't do anything that like amazed me. It was just intriguing was all. Everything that they did, that they presented with was intriguing, but nothing that like blew my mind. But like episode 1, of course, is probably, or sorry, the first episode of Mighty Morphin will have to be my favorite because it's so iconic and just everything that it like the fact that even like the later seasons of Mighty Morphin tried to capture that feel with a lot of their first opening episodes of Power Rangers, like in later seasons. It just shows you how iconic the day or the what was it called, Day of the Dumpster, that was the name of it, right? Are you frozen again? Oh, it looks like Adam is frozen again. But yeah, just that first episode was just so iconic. So of course it has to be my number 1. Till Adam gets back, I will answer these next questions as well. If you've seen the poster reveal for the newest Sentai season, number 1 Sentai, Gozuger, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, so I apologize. What were your thoughts about it? Well, we went over our thoughts, but I will definitely say it again. I think the costumes look really cool. They very much give me kind of like a Ninja Storm vibe. I don't know why. It's probably just the pattern and plus the circle on the chest. It just kind of reminds me of Ninja Storm. But I also love the animal, motif to it as well. It almost feels like Ninja Storm meets like Wild Force or any of the many other seasons that have had like animal themed Power Rangers. But I think they look cool.
I was gonna say,
you are muted.
Back?
It's taking a minute for your voice to sink in because of the music. Excuse me, the music, I think.
Oh, can you hear me now?
That's better. Now I can.
You got me? Okay. Yeah, as far as the order, I'm gonna go with you. For me, same order. I got Mighty Morphin, Dino Charge, Dino Thunder, and then Dino Fury. What was the next question?
The question about what we thought of the Super Sentai outfits.
Okay. Yeah, I think I already answered that one from Peg C. What are your honest opinions on Fast and the Furious? Is there a particular movie that you feel like they should have stopped after? I probably will say after Paul Walker passed, I would have been cool with that ending there.
I 100% agree. I think that was actually the perfect like bow to the franchise. But yeah, I think they're fun. I still watch them, even though my expectations are usually pretty low with them now. It's not that they have gone downhill. It's just that, we've seen it at its best and it keeps trying to top itself, but it just never does. I feel like the 7th one, the last one with Paul Walker was the perfect kind of end to the franchise. But yeah, I'll still watch him. I mean, I still think that Jason Momoa was such a fun villain in the last movie. I kind of look forward to seeing him bring that energy to Lobo if the rumors are going to be true.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. I hope the rumors are true. Yeah, I mean, I stopped watching after the Paul Walker ones. So I feel like they've jumped a shark a while ago, and they're just milking this franchise for all it's worth. So I've really stopped watching them, but I enjoyed them for what they were. I had fun. I didn't mind the idea of them branching out a little bit more than just being street racing. But yeah, I think after the Paul Walker and then just hearing and seeing some of the stuff from the film's clips and whatnot of just some of the outlandish stuff that they've decided to start doing, I'm just like, yeah, I just don't. It's not something I care to really revisit, honestly.
Yeah.
Blossom, how's this for Gozuger? Like the other Reiwa Sentais, they're Power Rangers imagined by different people, including children. They're created from an inspiring artist who's in middle school. He calls them Power Rangers Super Beast. The Black Ranger is also modeled after his late older sister, who told him all those stories about Ranger legends. Okay, that sounds pretty cool, Blossom. Yeah, I think you mentioned some of that in an earlier comment that we wind up getting. But yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Power of the Morphing Grid. Shuriken, what's up, AJ? Shuriken versus Sam SPD Omega Ranger. And Hurricaneger, which was the source material for Power Rangers Ninja Storm. Shuriken, aka the Green Samurai Ranger, didn't have an actual human identity. In fact, he revealed in a quick backstory that he had ultimately devoted his allegiance to his mentor, for in return, he abandoned his name and human identity. He basically became a ninja of 1,000 faces. By doing so, being Shurikenja was his true form. So whenever he wasn't in battle with the rest of the Rangers, he would show up and help them out by disguising himself as a random person and would morph. Oh, that's pretty cool. Those random people who he would disguise as were past Sentai actors. Each past Sentai actor that played him gave clues, even morphing into Shurikenja by using the same henshin gestures that they used their respective series as. Little fan service from the Sentai series they were known for. That sounds so cool, Stuart.
Yeah.
I never even heard about this. 10 years later, when Shurikenja celebrated his 10-year reunion by having a reunion special, the spirit of Shurikenja returned. It was never confirmed in Shurikenja if he was dead or not, by giving his powers to a little boy named Tenka, selecting him as a successor. So when it came to Sam as the Omega Ranger and SPD, we all knew that his version of Sam was from the future, who had traveled back in time to help stop the Trobian Empire from annihilating SPD in the future. We all know that Sam ended up being a ball of light when not in his Ranger form because Disney was too cheap to pay for another on-screen actor. Instead, we just had a voice actor until the series finale, where we saw a random crew member play Sam's future human self for a split second. There were instances throughout the season where Sam would morph from his character, would morph from a ball of light into Omega Ranger, even having an episode focused on him. But because we didn't have an actor for him, his character focus was often incorporated into other episodes that were about other Rangers. Most notable was Reflection Part 2, which followed up on Sky's desire to be the Red Ranger instead of Jack. To wrap up, it's very interesting that Shurikenja had more of a character focus, whereas Omega Ranger was just an afterthought in order to accommodate the Sentai footage. I wish Omega Ranger was a future version of Boom who actually became a Power Ranger. That way we could progress his character development and see him on the battlefield as himself and as Omega Ranger. It's funny that in Ninja Storm, Cam became the Green Samurai Ranger, while in SPD, it was the complete opposite of having Sam as a ball of light after he traveled from 2045.
So I agree with everything you said for Sam in terms of the way he was treated in the show and the fact that, yeah, it made it hard to really connect with him because of the fact that they didn't actually have a real actor playing him until that last shot. But I don't necessarily agree with the Boom idea, only because I actually really love the twist that they already had with his character. The fact that it was just some kid that they already had helped like in a previous episode, kind of a cool way of showing like how good deeds you do can come back to help you, you know, in the long run, even if you don't know it, something like, you know, and a thing like that. So I just kind of liked how that came full circle. But as for everything else you said, I 100% do agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that about the Green Samurai Ranger and Shurikenja. So like, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I kind of want to go and watch that now. I think that's a really cool concept. That's interesting how they decided to pull that off. But yeah, man, appreciate it. Power of the Morphing Grid. We appreciate you coming through with that topic. I learned something new today.
Yep.
But that will do it, ladies and gentlemen, for our live viewer questions. So thank you, everybody that's participated here this week for sure. Always appreciate hearing your thoughts, even if I don't necessarily answer every question correctly or properly. So thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it, man. But yeah, that will do it for us here. So again, a couple things dropping later on this week. We've got our Wednesday live at 10 p.m. Central Time, our Skeleton Crew live reviews for you guys. And then later on in the week, either Friday or Saturday, expect a Creature Commandos review as well from yours truly. And then we'll see if we can have any other content for some series or movies that are going to be dropping here this month. I think we have the Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim animated movie dropping December 13th or around that time period. So I probably will be doing a review for the channel then as well. And then, yeah, we got the season finale of Superman and Lois on next weekend's episode of A+ Plus Hero Report. So certainly look forward to that. But a lot of fresh content coming your guys' way. We've got a bunch of new reels and clips that I'm sure we'll be posting in regards to shorts around here. But Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Instagram and on Letterboxd.
And if you guys want to follow us anywhere, as you can see, everywhere down below at A Plus Opinions. We are currently on at Blue Sky. If you're interested in following us on Blue Sky, at Hero Report, you can find us there. It's like Hero Report bsky.social. We also are on TikTok at Hero Report. Check us out there also. And then, yeah, anywhere else you get your social media, I would highly recommend not only subscribing to the YouTube channel, but also following us here on our Facebook page as well at A Plus Opinions. We continue to grow on a weekly basis, guys, so continue to show your support. That's where we pull all of our stories throughout the week, where we keep you posted with news articles, discussion topics, posters, trailers, behind the scenes featurettes and stuff. The Facebook page certainly has everything, and then we talk about it here on our YouTube channel. But other than that, guys, that will do it for us here today. We'll certainly see you guys next weekend, but until then, do us a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.